Chapter 161 Breath of Death. The Lord of the Sky, who was freed by Carter and Enel, found the three escaped soldiers and chased them to the battlefield between the Sandians and the Sky Islanders. The low voice of the Lord of the Sky shocked the audience, and everyone's heart skipped a beat. Even heroic warriors can't help but swallow their saliva. When facing such a behemoth, anyone will have a trace of fear. Roar. The Lord of the Sky roared and rushed over. It didn't distinguish between Shandians and Sky Islanders, everyone was its prey. Several slow-running unlucky ghosts screamed and were swallowed by its abyss-like mouth. Gadong. As the snake swallowed, a protrusion slid down its throat. Damn it, Lord of the Sky. It actually appeared at this time. A Shandian said unwillingly. They were close to victory, but were spoiled. Everyone, retreat. Go back to Angel Island first and then make plans. Gonfol made a decisive decision and left the battlefield while the Lord of the Sky was making a fuss. Chasing, don't let them escape, otherwise I don't know when we will meet such a good opportunity again. Wendell waved his right hand and made a chasing gesture. The Shandia people are really unlucky. Are they really led by the chief? Anil stood on the top of a tree and watched the battlefield from a distance. He didn't help in the past. His agreement with the Sandia people was to drive the gods out of Apayado and help them gain control of the golden city of Sandia. Now that God has withdrawn, his duty ends here. I saw the Lord of the Sky suddenly turned around and rushed towards Wendell. The huge body is like a wall, and it is only seen between the Shandians and the Sky Islanders. It spat out letters and stared at Wendell. Damn, do you know that because of you, our 400 years of wishes have come to nothing? Wendell raised his hand and gave it an energy cannon. If they were run away by God, even if they temporarily seize the control of Apayado, it would not make much sense. Sky Islanders will soon organize forces to counterattack. Although Gonfor loves peace, as a leader, he also needs to be responsible for his people. The people who have long been accustomed to the sky that draws resources from Apayado cannot accept the loss of the land. They will be angry, they will panic, they will hate. Apayado is their land, and it is a gift from God to them. The 400 years have formed a deep-rooted understanding in the ideology of Sky Islanders. They don't want to find out about the past 400 years ago, they don't care who the original owner of the earth is. Apayado is already ours. If someone else stole it, go and get it back. The will of the people of the sky will drive the continuation of the war. The people of Shandia, blinded by hatred, will never back down. A more tragic war is brewing. Pain, hatred, blood, and death still do not stop. As for sharing a piece of land, that's even more impossible. Perhaps, only after experiencing the same despair as Lei Ying in the original novel, in the face of the threat of death, will they let go of this hatred. Enel smelled something different from the battlefield. Destruction and destruction were felt by him as if they were real. Is this the breath of death? It's a weird feeling, Enel muttered. He found that he had a special feeling when a lot of life died. But it is very vague, like looking at the scenery on the other side of the river through the fog, vague and unreal. Enel didn't know what was irritating him, but his body had a clear reaction. It was as if every pore in his body had opened up and he was breathing greedily. Is death like this? How wonderful. Wait, why am I thinking this way? Infected by that guy Akutagawa Huang? Or is it a side effect of the fruit, influenced by the consciousness of the demon dragon? Enel, who didn't understand the truth, thought it was a side effect of the fruit, and people couldn't help but like death and killing. In fact, the fruit did not affect his character at all. The life force of a dead creature will flow away and then dissipate naturally. Enel's body absorbs this life force unconsciously. Because the amount was too small, he didn't know it at all. Just feel comfortable in such an environment. Although it does not directly affect his character, it is real that he likes large-scale deaths. It is his physical instinct to like this comfortable feeling. Just like rolling the sheets is cool, so I like rolling the sheets. Physical pleasure is real, and then indirectly affects psychology and behavior. It is very refreshing to absorb vitality, full of pleasure. So he fell in love with killing, and then went to absorb the vitality of the slain. But Anal didn't know that. So I started thinking about it. What exactly is a devil fruit? Does it have self-awareness? Items in the original book can understand human speech after eating devil fruit. Just like Spandam's elephant sword was threatened by Frankie with a cannon, so he obediently retracted his nose. So where did the consciousness of the elephant sword come from? Does the devil fruit impart consciousness to the item, or does the consciousness of the devil fruit itself transfer to the item? Will this ability to impart consciousness or transfer consciousness apply to humans? Anal was unfounded and thought about a lot of things, but in the end, nothing came out. In the end, I decided to restrain myself, resist the influence of the devil fruit on the character, and kill less. Minimize the killing. This probably can hold back. What he repelled was not killing, but worried that it was the magic dragon's consciousness that was going to affect him, so he had to be on guard until he understood the reason. Anal is worried, and overcautious people like to frighten themselves. But there is no way for now. Just put this question aside. Meow. Carter tilted his head in confusion as he looked at Neil, who was stunned. Meow, it said again. Anal continued to be in a daze. Carter put a paw on Enel's shoulder, reminding him to come back to his senses. Unexpectedly, the force was too strong, and he was shot down. Amount. Wow, Azier fell, and the onion was inserted into the soil. Carter covered the cat's eyes with his two fat claws, looking like he couldn't bear to look directly. It showed a gap between its claws to check the situation. An unknown muffled groan came from the soil, and the two exposed feet kept shaking. After thinking for a while, Carter decided to help and pulled Anal out of the ground. Bastard! What are you doing, kid? Anal growled at Carter as soon as he came out. Carter hurriedly stepped back a few dozen steps, hid behind a tree, only showing a round head, and said weakly, Meow, I didn't mean to. Anal has been trapped not once or twice. For example, when he was eating, Carter put sugar as salt, and when he was looking at the sea, he slapped him into the sea with a claw. When Anal was in a daze, Carter always came up with various things. Chapter 162 Golden Township. Go, cat, Anal said to Carter, who was watching him cautiously from behind a tree. The agreement with the Shandians, the responsibility has been fulfilled, it is time to collect the payment. You don't hit me. Carter kept his distance. Anal rolled his eyes. Have I hit you? Carter pondered for a while and said, No, but you murdered me. It looks aggrieved. Anal was speechless, changed his expression, forced the corners of his mouth to open, and said with a smile, My dear good friend Carter, it's time for us to get down to business now. Carter shuddered. It's so strange that you look like this, but you're more used to the fierce expression. Anal. What expression should he use to face Carter? Anal came to the ruins near the giant vine. This is the ruins of a city. However, this is not Sandora, and there is no trace of gold around. This should be where originally guarded. Later, Ani Road smashed the ground, and they fell to Sandora. That is to say, the golden city of Sandora, right below us. Anal's right arm turned into a dragon claw, and then digging. The strength of the animal fruit is the increase in physical skills, and the single attack is powerful. Unlike the nature department, it has a natural disaster-like attack range. Enel, who has the thunder fruit, can easily penetrate the ground, but Enel can't. His attack range is limited. At this time, perhaps you should ask, which mining technology is stronger? The sharpness and sturdiness of the dragon's claws are quite reliable. Enel didn't take much time to dig a passage leading to the lower ruins. He jumped off. Carter followed without hesitation. 2.5 weeks in the air, the difficulty factor is 5.5, and the landing is smooth, perfect. Enel looked around, but didn't see Carter. Meow YC, help me. Looking up, Carter was stuck. The ancient city of Sandora slept among the clouds in the sky. 400 years have turned the former glory into a wasteland. Prosperity has become a fleeting sight. Green vines and ancient trees are spreading, people's breath is exhausted, and nature and wildness are eroding. However, the houses decorated with gold, the buildings like Chonglo and Yuyu, the wide squares, and the extremely gorgeous decorations all tell her majesty and magnificence. She is like a sleeping beauty, peaceful and silent in the clouds. The extreme prosperity and the extreme silence are displayed on the Sandora at this time, and the two extreme contrasts are perfectly intertwined. What a majesty and majesty this is! Even if the legendary capital of Shandora is thrown into the sky, even after the baptism of war, it still maintains such a majestic appearance. But that's the end of it. Because the people who once owned her didn't have the power to protect her, because she didn't have the powerful force to keep this prosperity, so she was lonely, so she was ruined. All power, all splendor, are just the embellishment of power. Carter, let's move, don't let go of all the gold. Let this ancient place become history forever. The legend of the Golden Country ends here. Quote. Ano pulled the gold from the building piece by piece in front, and Carter opened the backpack space and loaded things in. Gold is valuable, you can buy devil fruits. Gold is valuable, and you can buy a lot of fish. One person and one cat are very happy. Although the process is cumbersome, it is not boring at all, and their faces are full of excitement. Money is a good thing with universal value, and a civilized society will definitely use it when it develops to a certain extent. Anal digs almost 3 feet into the ground, leaving nothing behind. This is probably all he can get. It's all over, we've hidden our merits and fame, we should withdraw, cat. Anal thought it would be better for him to leave early, otherwise the Shandians might fight him. So one person and one cat just walked away, silently, not taking a cloud with them. When the Shandians spent a lot of time finding Shandora, they saw wreckage and ruins. The altar collapsed, the buildings turned into rubble, nothing was complete, and even the square was full of potholes. What the hell is going on here? Why is this happening? Is this really our Sandora? Without the joy of defeating the Sky Islanders, without the cheers of returning to the homeland, there is only endless grief and unwillingness. City, destroyed. Gold, gone. Sandora's lamp also disappeared. What they had guarded for generations, is gone. Why is this the result? They gave their lives, shed blood, tears, and sweat, and in the end what they got was a barren and dead silence with nothing. Wendell knelt on the ground, tears streaming down uncontrollably. Damn it, damn it. He thumped the ground with punch after punch, chafing the skin on the back of his hand, and donating blood, but he didn't even notice it. Who the hell did it? These sections are still new, Sandora, they were destroyed not too long ago. There are footprints here, a child, and a cat. Someone shouted suddenly. It was a moss-covered ground with a faint trail of footprints. The culprit that turned Shandora into this look is obvious. Gold is inlaid on the exterior of the house, and it takes a lot of effort to take it down piece by piece. Analu was able to keep Shandora as she was after getting the gold, so he must have used his abilities. Ray metallurgy. Anal and Carter don't have this ability, and don't expect their movements to be gentle. Pirates are not archaeologists, they don't care what cultural relics are. If you really have that kind of consciousness, what kind of pirates are you out there? Enel didn't become a pirate because he wanted to be a pirate. He was different from most pirates. They took the initiative to hang up the skull flag, so they were pirates. On the other hand, Enel was recognized as a pirate by the Navy because of his actions. For convenience, both he and Carter punched down directly, smashed the building, and then found the gold from the shards. Enel came home full of rewards, taking a load of gold on his true gold journey. Leaving behind a devastated Sandora. Look here, there are characters. On the largest altar, a line of words is engraved. According to the agreement, I will take the gold, and the lamp of Shandora will be left to you to sound Anal. What? Didn't he take the golden bell? Wendell stared at the row of crooked letters, silent for a long time. There should be no need for him to lie to us. The golden bell should still exist somewhere. Find it, and then light the lamp of Shandora. Although Shandora no longer exists. When he said the last sentence, his voice dropped, like a choked whisper. Chapter 163 Crisis of Confidence. Going down the island is much easier than going up. Anal directly chose the easiest one, jumping. Meow woo woo woo. Carter hugged Anal tightly with his eyes closed. Mouth sobbing, not knowing what to shout. His long cat hair fluttered in the wind. Anal grabbed Carter's paw with his hand, and also made an inexplicable cry. You bastard, cat, take it easy. Carter held on tighter instead. Meow YC, I'm scared. Come on, let go, I'm about to be strangled to death by you. Carter hugged him tightly and shivered. Anal rolled his eyes, then kicked Carter away. Carter fell quickly, without screaming, without fear. Just looking at Anal, who spread his wings in disbelief, a big question was written on the cat's face. Meow. Then came flashing tears. Why? Why? We have gone through so much together, are we going to leave me at the juncture of life and death? Vessie, I misread you. Carter was very sad as a 200-pound orange cat. I still have a lot of fish to eat. I haven't. The shadow passed over it, and the falling trend slowed down. Carter stared blankly at the black dragon above, which was missing an arm. The dark scales were as dark as the deep night. Ferocious, powerful, but a little strange. Is this really Enel? Did I really know Enel before? Is the Enel I see the real Enel? Carter was confused. Enel's foot just left a thorn in its heart. For a split second, it really thought that Enel thought it was a burden and would leave it alone to escape. The waves are up and down, and the heart is not like a mirror. Carter stared blankly at the sea, where schools of fish jumped out from time to time, but he didn't seem to see it. Carter, don't jump into the sea. The hair on your body hasn't grown well, it will be bad to sink. Anal patted its back. If you catch fish, leave it to me, my catcher. The domineering look of the fish is not a blow, and the efficiency of catching fish is first class. Quote. At present, the biggest use of Enel's dragon power is fishing, so he jokingly calls it fishing domineering. He was clearly caring about himself, but Carter felt that Enel's smile was a little fake. I ignored him, lying on the deck alone, staring at the board in a daze. Counting the stripes on the board in circles, it didn't know how it could think of it. But it always feels like I've been betrayed, and I'm sick and lacking in energy. Anal didn't think much of it when he kicked it, just because Carter held him like this and kept him moving. If they don't transform as soon as possible, both of them may fall to their death. He also disdains to disguise himself in front of his partners, and has always treated them with the most sincere attitude. He may have concealed his abilities, but in terms of character and behavior, he has shown himself without compromise. He has no interest in wearing a false mask to gain the loyalty and trust of his partners. Deception and camouflage don't last long, and one day they will be exposed. And he didn't want to be emotionally insincere with his partner. If they are compatible, they will go together. If they are different, they will not work together. He is more Buddhist in his attitude towards this matter, and everything follows the circumstances. Especially Carter. Carter trusts Enel. Why doesn't Enel trust Carter? He had handed Carter the rope of life many times, only to let it go and Enel would be dead. But Carter has never let him down. Carter is the only cat that Enel trusts enough to live and die. Even with the other two partners, Milo and Huang, he will not show a weak side in front of them. Always maintain the strength to at least be able to get out of the body. Carter was suspicious of Enel because he had always trusted him so much that he could depend on his life at any moment. But Enel's kick made it unworthy of his own trust, and he always felt that he was too stupid. Even if Enel immediately flew down to catch it later, it did not make it dissuade him. Once the seeds of doubt are planted, they are difficult to eradicate. Enel didn't know what Carter was thinking, and guessed the reason. What's the matter? Why is Carter not interested in fish today? Could it be in heat? Well, it is necessary to find a beautiful little female cat for her. Anil thought while holding his chin. But such a big cat is hard to find. I wonder if a tiger can do it. Maybe you should buy one online for it. No, customize a girlfriend. Better quality, better shape. The figure should also be good, but the aesthetics of cats are not the same. There is absolutely no clear feasible plan for helping Carter find a girlfriend, and it can only be suppressed. The thunder fruit was found, and the gold was also in hand. Enel began to think about further actions. It is not a wise choice to continue to move forward along the record pointer. With his current Major General's top-level combat power, it is dangerous to go further. The further back he goes, the higher the chance of encountering all kinds of big people. He is not even domineering now, and a random nature department is enough for him to have a headache. Anil is not the kind of stunner that Luffy is, and he was taught by the Admiral of the Navy to know his weakness. His positioning of his own strength is quite accurate, which is why he has been chaotic, and is still alive. Now that you know that the sea is not something you can play around with, of course, you won't be foolish to rush forward. When you are weak, you must be patient, improve yourself, and strengthen your strength. This is the way to survive. Take out a stack of blueprints from the drawer, which is the three-color domineering training method obtained from Doflamingo. There are not many words, only 3 sheets of paper are filled. But this represents the most basic power in the New World. This is the power that a real strong man must master. Anil made 3 copies in total, one was given to Huang, one was given to Milo, and the other was in Carter's space. This is Dover's handwritten manuscript. Original genuine goods. Doflamingo deserves to be in business, and his service attitude is good. Not only the content is not discounted, but also a few pictures are attached to accompany the description. Completely different from some profiteers. Perhaps it is because of his attitude that Enel likes to work with him. Although you need to be careful when you are involved in a major event, be prepared for the other party to suddenly turn his face. But in some small and medium-sized transactions, it is still very reassuring to cooperate with him. Efficient and affordable. It was the content of this painting, and the corners of Enel's mouth twitched when he saw it. On it is painted a small Q-like figure who looks like Doflamingo and wears sunglasses of the same style as him. Enel was a little speechless. I really didn't know that a gangster like Ming Jie actually had such a hobby. This abstract style is really good. Should have practiced. Chapter 164 Trade. On the surface of the North Sea, a ship shaped like a flamingo floats. One side of the hull was broken in a large piece, which had been blasted out by a cannon. The traces are still very new, and it can be seen that it experienced a major battle not long ago. Roxandy stood by the railing and lit a cigarette. The blue smoke slowly rose, became lighter, and dissipated in the air. After the Don Quixote family parted with Anil, he contacted Lieutenant General Crane twice. The first time they moved without waiting for naval action. The second time, the most recent time, Lieutenant General Crane collided with Doflamingo. But still failed to capture Ming Jie. Even Garp's pursuit was unsuccessful. Dover, the king of the dark world of the North Sea, his rise seems unstoppable. Rossandi felt extremely heavy. He hasn't spent much time alone recently, and the family members are always following him, intentionally or unintentionally. He knows that he can no longer pass on news, otherwise he may be exposed directly. The phone bug rang. Who is it? Doflamingo's low voice was gloomy, he was annoyed, and the crane's pressing step by step hindered his development. Ah, Dover, you don't seem very happy. It's you, Enel. Doflamingo adjusted his mind. Enel, is that kid? Ronandi's ears perked up at the name. He no longer dared to underestimate Enel now. He couldn't treat him as an ordinary kid, and he was even more vigilant than Doflamingo. Enel played a big role in the fact that the Don Quixote family was able to dominate the dark world of the North Sea so quickly. After carefully investigating the intelligence of the Black Coffin, Rosanity found that every time he made a move, he made a lot of waves. In the past, as a mercenary, under the name of the country he was employed, he changed the situation of many wars. It was because of his vigilance and prudence that he had not been given accurate information by the Navy for a long time. If he hadn't infiltrated the Don Quixote family as an undercover agent, I'm afraid the Navy wouldn't even know what Anal looked like now. And it was such a dangerous person who contacted Brother Doflamming again, and he knew that there was nothing good. After glancing at Dover's serious look, he knew it was a big deal. He approached involuntarily, trying to hear what was being said. "Rosanity, so you are here." Someone patted his shoulder from behind, causing him to break out in a cold sweat. "Is something wrong?" he wrote on the paper. "It's nothing, it's just that you disappeared suddenly, and I thought you fell into the sea again." "Ha ha hey hey." Torapal got close, his snot hanging on his chest. Roxandy took a few steps back without a trace. Hearing the movement here, Doflamingo lowered his voice after glancing at Rosandy. "Huh, you want permanent pointers to those dangerous places?" Doflamingo was a little puzzled. I want to disappear temporarily for a while. Compared with those monsters in the sea, neither you nor I are too fragile. I am not those little devils who don't know how high the sky is. My weight is still, you can measure it clearly." Anal crossed his knees. "Yeah, I see. Be patient for a week. I'll have someone deliver it for you. Send over a few different pointers," Anal added. He was always wary of Doflamingo and didn't want him to know his whereabouts. Because now Brother Ming is stronger than him. Originally, Anal was not as strong as Doflamingo, and this time he had broken one of his arms, and he might be in danger of fighting Mingay head-on. If you need a few different pointers, the probability of being found is relatively small. These islands, the Tiananhebe branch, are extremely dangerous everywhere in the Great Waterway, and it is not easy to find them one by one. Almost no one would put so much effort into dealing with Enel. "Dover, I recently got a lot of gold." "Gold? Devil fruits. I need you to help me buy devil fruits." "How many are there?" 200 million pieces, no ability required. The guaranteed price of devil fruit is 100 million Bailey, but the transaction price will basically be higher. Generally speaking, it can be sold for 150 million Baileys. Of course, even on the black market, there are very few powerful devil fruits, and the transactions are generally of the animal system. The price is also not too high. 200 million Bailey, Doflamingo still has a lot of profit space. The demands of allies should of course be met first, and I will help you pay attention. How many can you get in a short time now? Short time? I can't say that. You know, this thing is hard to find. I can't guarantee that if you are lucky, you may have 3 or 4, if you are unlucky, you may not have 1. Dover frowned. "In that case, then I will pay you 3 billion Baileys of gold first, and you will help me acquire devil fruits in the next few years." Enel was not afraid of Dover hacking his gold. "That's not all, anyway, and it's been a few years since we met again. If Doflamingo doesn't hand over the devil fruit by then, Enel will get it back in his own way." 3 billion Yang Fu, you have gained a lot from this treasure hunt. I'm so lucky that I can't help but feel a little jealous. Well, luck is unreliable, and the path you walk down is solid. Your business in the dark world is much more reliable than my rootless income. Dover, how is it? Do you do this business? Sure, but how do I deliver it? Didn't you say you wanted to disappear for a while? Doflamingo looked at the sky. I'll leave the purchased devil fruit with you first. I'll find you myself when I get back, is it all right? Don't worry, I'm a businessman, even an underground businessman needs to be trustworthy. We've been working together for so long, can you still trust me? Doflamingo's tone was a little unpleasant. No, of course I believe you, we are allies. But wouldn't it be inconvenient for you to store the devil fruit for so long? No problem, I will specially send someone to guard it. Doflamingo is in urgent need of funds now, because of the crane, his industrial chain has been broken and needs to be replenished. I'm on the Great Route now, how can I give you the gold? Directly to the person who brought the pointer you just said. No, my forces haven't touched the Great Route yet. The one who sent you the pointer should be a subordinate of one of my partners. Since such a huge amount of transactions is involved, I don't worry about others. I will let Pika go. Doflamingo's current power is mainly in the North Sea, and some of the great waterways are just some small minions who act as ears and eyes. But it's still possible to get someone to give Enel a few pointers. I'll leave it to you then. Enel hung up the phone bug. Doflamingo is a good collaborator, and work with him to save worry and effort. It's just that his character is elusive, and it's a little dangerous if he's not strong enough. Chapter 165 Black Moon Island. The clouds were thick, and the razor danced. The strong wind swept the earth, and the branches and leaves of towering ancient trees danced wildly. The crunching sound was incessant. The sea rolled, setting off a huge wave. The surging sea water is like a galloping beast, carrying unparalleled momentum to the land. Boom! Whoa! Although the ancient trees kept swaying, they were not damaged, not even the thinnest branches were broken. They keep this force of nature at the periphery of the island. Whoa! 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 The torrential rain continued, like spilled pearls, hitting the beach, forming potholes. Moments after the pothole appeared, it was swept away by the waves. The wind suddenly changed, no longer blowing in the same direction. They circled each other, forming a tornado. Attracting the sea water, columns of water hundreds of meters high appeared on the sea. The waterspouts seemed to have life, twisting and turning, up and down. Boom! In the center of the island is a huge volcano that is spewing scorching currents. Red-hot magma rose into the sky and then fell. The gushing lava merged into a river and rushed down. This red river of death devours everything in its path. The merciless heat scorched, and the air became scorching hot. The center of the island seems to be a large furnace. The volcanic ash flew high, like a thick black cloud, covering the sky. Thunderclouds seemed to be provoked, and several lightning bolts shot towards the volcano. The thunder exploded, and a gorgeous wave exploded in the center of the magma river. The rain kept falling and fell into the river of fire. Woo, woo, woo. When approaching the ground, it evaporates into gas. The misty water vapor rose, intertwined with the falling volcanic ash. The volcanic area in the center of the island is shrouded in a cloud of gray. Amid the grayness, a huge shadow could be seen squirming. This is Black Moon Island, located near the windless belt of the Great Airway. If you look down on the whole island from the sky, you will find that it is like a black crescent moon. The extremely harsh natural environment has created extremely powerful creatures. Animals, plants, everything that lives here have incredible tenacious vitality. This is a desperate situation, and Liao is uninhabited. Even on a great route, which itself is full of crises, this is a place where people can talk. Here, the law of nature of the law of the jungle is vividly deduced. Here is the dead place of human beings, the kingdom of animals. On the coast, a palm stretched out from a pile of broken wood. Enel lifted the plank that was pressing on him. Then Carter, who was buried below, was dragged out. Bah, ha, Enel spat out the sand in his mouth. After he got the pile of record pointers from Pika, he chose one of them at random and drove in the direction pointed by the pointer. Unexpectedly, the weather here will change as soon as it is changed. It was originally windy and sunny, and many waterspouts suddenly appeared on the calm sea like a pond. After finally dodging the water column one by one, he encountered the waves again. Then they were carried and washed up on the beach. The ship was torn apart, and Carter was knocked out. It's really bad luck. What the hell is the weather? Enel spat. Boom, boom, boom. A deafening sound came from behind. The huge waves hit again, like a moving wall. Enel's face changed greatly, grabbed Carter's tail, and hurriedly dragged it into the forest. If you get swept into the sea by the waves, it will be troublesome. Carter stretched out his feet naturally, making a mark on the ground. Dangerously dodging the waves, Enel slapped Carter to wake him up. Carter opened his eyes and saw the darkness around him. Huh, is it dark? Meow. Sleep. Stupid cat, don't sleep, this island is not safe. Maybe some terrifying monster is already staring at your fat. Anal tugged at its beard. Carter stood up instantly, hid behind Enel, and glanced around vigilantly with those small eyes. Enel looked at the towering giant trees around him. These trees were very strange. The surface was covered with spiral knots, iron black, and even the leaves were gray. It is full of metal texture, like a steel forest. He punched it, but it only made a dent. The hardness of this tree is close to that of steel. Enel retracted his fist and stroked the spiral-shaped lump, and the cold touch came, as if he was touching a piece of cold iron. The branches are hard but flexible, and Enel did not break a branch after bending it 120 degrees. The wind blew through the forest, and it sounded like a whimper, like a cry, and like a wailing. Voices came from all directions. Carter was shocked. Enel looked at the sign on the record pointer, which read, Black Moon Island. He remembered that he had seen the island before, and it seemed that a vice admiral had disappeared here. He didn't know if the records were true, but in an unfamiliar place, it was always right to be careful. If this is the case, then the danger of this island is beyond expectations. The dark forest, like the entrance to the abyss, is deep, mysterious, and exudes a chilling atmosphere. The branches and leaves of the iron tree cover the sky like a huge cover. Carter moved his ears and looked to the left. It stared at a tree, its muscles tense, in a fighting stance. What's the matter, Carter? Enel also looked over there vigilantly. Carter's senses are much more sensitive than he is. I think I heard something. A small figure appeared from behind the tree. It held the trunk with one hand and looked a little scared. Enel stared at it for a long time, but couldn't see what kind of creature it was. What is this? Long ears, deer face, walks upright, covered with tawny fur. It's a chopper-type creature. Hey, are you human? Said the strange creature, and its voice was clear, a very nice female voice. Enel was stunned for a long time, and then reacted, speak. It wasn't the animal language that Enel could understand like Carter, but the human language. Enel is not surprised that animals speak human words. After all, there are a lot of messes in the world of pirates, and there is no surprise that there are animals that can talk. The problem is that this is Black Moon Island. Not to mention animals, even people need a social environment to learn to speak. If he has been in isolation since he was a child, this person cannot speak. This creature can speak, which means that there is someone here, or that it has lived with humans for a considerable period of time. Black Moon Island, will there be human life? Chapter 166. That's a roe deer. After talking for a long time, Enel finally figured out what happened to this chopper-type creature. It is a roe deer. It's not like Chopper eats the fruits of everyone, but his father is a fur tribe, a roe deer-shaped fur tribe. Its mother is a real roe deer, so she gave birth to such a half roe deer. Murlocs, which are half human and half fish, can give birth to half murlocs like Jedlin with humans. Then according to this inference, half are roe deer, half are human roe deer like FurClan, and it seems that there is nothing wrong with giving birth to such a half roe deer with a real roe deer. Only quarter of it is human and 3/4 is roe deer. In this case, it is not very outrageous that it can speak. After all, in the op world, the Great Root is such a messy place. Islands, animals, plants, all kinds of abnormal places. It looks delicious, Cat, let's cook it, Enel suggested. Venison meat is said to be delicious and tasty. Carter was staring at the roe deer blankly. The opposite looked at Carter with the same eyes. Cat. Enel called it a few more times but didn't respond. It's as if the soul is out of the body. Hey, what's wrong with you? Stupid cat. Enel kicked its ass, and finally kicked its soul back. Ah, Vessie, what did you say? I said you quickly take out the pot, we cooked this deer. Enel's dragon claws gleamed coldly. So frightened, the roe deer dodged behind the tree, showing half of his head and looking at Enel vigilantly. No, don't, Carter said hastily. Ah, what's wrong? No, it's all right. Isn't the purpose of our coming here to train ourselves through battle? Let's go, I can't wait to master the power of domineering. Carter raised his legs and walked into the depths of the forest. Chapter 2. I kneel closed and confused. Carter turned sexual. When did it become so energetic? Is it because the puberty period is coming, so you are ready to exercise strong muscles to attract the opposite sex? He said that he cooked the roe deer just casually, and he didn't have a very strong will. Since Carter has worked so hard, he can't fall. Carter suddenly stood up, because the roe deer was holding one of its hind legs. Roe deer shook his head at Carter, who turned around and said, "Don't go, it's dangerous inside." Enel suddenly felt a little ashamed. What kind and friendly creatures, to be worried about their safety. He was thinking about cooking it just now, and Enel's conscience was slightly irritated. But why do you always feel that it is a little blush? It's an illusion. Don't worry, I'm strong. Don't worry. Carter gave the roe deer a thumbs up, teeth gleaming. Do you know any dangerous places or creatures on this island here? Enel asked close. The roe deer hid behind Carter in fear, and pointed to Enel cautiously. Enel looked behind him and saw nothing. Oh, you mean those sea tornadoes? I don't plan to go to sea recently. I mean it, Enel said suddenly, as if he wanted to understand something. The roe deer still pointed at him. Because he said that he was going to cook the roe deer just now, for the roe deer, the biggest danger now is him. Enel's face darkened. Don't worry, YC is my boss, you are my friend, he won't hurt you. Carter patted the roe deer, signaling her to be relieved. Just a face-to-face effort, Carter and Rosie have forged a deep and pure friendship. A very, very pure friendship between a male cat and a female roe deer. Dangerous? I don't know. I've never been near the center of the island, I've always lived on the coast. But one thing is for sure, the more dangerous it is, the more dangerous it is. I've been a little farther and I almost got eaten. The roe deer seemed to recall something terrible, with a lingering fear in his heart. Hearing this, a trace of anger flashed on Carter's face. What is it? I'll avenge you if you have the chance. It is said that the arrogance is dry cloud. Just like a gangster who wants justice for his younger brother. It's a dog, a big dog, black and white. It's really strong, roe deer said weakly. Don't worry, I am not afraid of stupid dogs. Just leave it to me. Carter is confident, it is a cat that can kill small sea kings without injury. Seeing that they couldn't persuade Carter and Enel, roe deer waved his hand and shouted, "Be careful." What reason can stop a man from going on his adventures? Since this is the other party's choice, it can't interfere more. Interfering with others with one's own will is an act of arrogance and ego. Even if he is really worried about the handsome big cat, he can only give his blessing silently in his heart. It is said that in the human world a wife waits for her husband like this. It waited for Carter as if a wife was at home waiting for her husband to return from work. Roe deer covered his face and looked at Carter secretly through his fingers. Carter walked gracefully in the cat's step, with his head held high, majestic and high-spirited. Do your best to show your brave side. But that round body made people want to laugh when they saw it. Maybe the aesthetics of animals are really different. Enel always felt that there was something wrong with the atmosphere between them, he seemed to smell the smell of dog food. Is it an illusion? After Carter was far away, the roe deer turned around and dug into an iron tree. It dug up the trunk of the tree numbly, and then took out a turquoise crystal block from it, and ate it happily. Enel suddenly felt that Carter might be about to collapse. That kind of iron tree, even Enel can only punch one punch. Although it did not use all its strength, the power contained in it is not small. And this roe deer can easily dig up the trunk. The steel-like bark was fragile in front of it as if it was made of foam. This shows that this roe deer also has a strong strength. At least in terms of attack power, it has reached the level of being able to tear apart steel. And how terrible can it be to leave such a powerful roe deer with fearful memories? Enel was not very optimistic about Carter. The roe deer seemed to have sensed Enel's sight, put a crystal in his mouth and jumped to hide behind the tree. He stuck his head out and looked at him cautiously. The movement of his mouth did not stop. He kept chewing and stuffed crystal blocks into his mouth from time to time. A pair of big eyes are piercing, and 2 long ears are shaking from time to time. Seeing that Enel did not move, it immediately ignored it. Concentrate on nibbling the crystal. No wonder and Carter are so harmonious. It turns out that they all have the attributes of foodies. Chapter 167 Intelligent Husky. The further you go towards the center of the island, the darker the tree becomes. It was light black at first, then it gradually turned into a deep black, and finally it was a black that was so rich that it seemed to overflow. It was like the darkness that devoured the light of Enel. Even the leaves turned black. The torrential rain and dark clouds have dissipated, and the volcanic ash has become very sparse. The sky above the forest was bright. Although the sun is not visible, it is not gloomy at all. However, the forest was like dusk, cold, dark, and dead. Like the residence of the god of death. Carter's steps are getting smaller and smaller, the frequency is getting lower and lower, the speed is slowing down, it is a bit cowardly. Why see, do you feel something is wrong? Carter stopped. Well, it's very dangerous. There is a sense of danger everywhere. It's everywhere. Enel raised his vigilance. His intuition was not very good, but since it could make him feel dangerous, it showed that it could bring him a lot of danger. A great threat. A black and white quadruped appeared in front of them. Triangular ears, long pointed muzzle, black back, white belly and head. In the position of the eye socket, there are 2 black circles. Kind of like a wolf, but goofy looking. This is a husky. Commonly known as 2 hectares. It is very suitable for pets and has various advantages. Friendly, gentle but alert. But what made it famous is one of its most glaring shortcomings. That is low intelligence. Although the guy in front looked stupid, Carter didn't let his guard down. The other party was stupid, but he was also very strong. You are the one who bullied the roe deer, right? Carter put on a fighting stance. Wong wong wong. What? You said I'm handsome. Erha was very happy. The cat and the dog speak different languages, misunderstanding Carter, and wagging his tail happily. Meow meow meow. Stupid dog, I'm not fat. It's just that the hair is a little longer. Wong, that's right, if you have a good eye, this uncle is so witty. Neil silently watched things develop in a strange direction. The 2 people's languages were completely different, and neither of them understood the meaning, but they were still able to chat happily. Meow, be mentally prepared. I will avenge the roe deer. Wong, let us have a fair duel. War. This is okay too. Can an agreement be reached? Enel was really dumbfounded. Wong. Wong wong. A husky rushed from all directions. One size smaller than the one that appeared in front of them at first. It seemed that the one who came out first seemed to be the leader. Damn it, didn't you say there was going to be a fair duel? What about fairness? Enel pulled Carter and ran in one direction. The husky leader sneered, are you mentally retarded? Will anyone be fair with food? It is true, just like when a person kills a pig, he will not tell the pig to be fair without using a knife. It also has the same mentality. From the very beginning, he had already made Enel and Carter his prey. As for wrangling with Carter, it was just to let his younger brothers complete the encirclement. The corner of Enel's mouth twitched, and he was actually despised by an Erha for his IQ. Can this be tolerated? Of course. Escape. Little life matters. They have fallen into a heavy siege. It is estimated that there are dozens of them. Enel grabbed Carter and flew away from the sky. Unexpectedly, a gray Erha jumped down from the tree and threw them to the ground. Enel slapped it away with the dragon's claws. There was no joy on his face, but his heart became even heavier. With all his strength, he couldn't kill the opponent, just leaving a wound where the bone can be seen. The greyhound that was slapped away quickly got up. Rush at them again. Obviously, Hammond's vitality is very tenacious, and such injuries are not enough to make them lose their combat effectiveness. They also have a strong bite, capable of crunching Enel's scales and leaving wounds on his body. But this is just an ordinary dude. The leader, who was obviously bigger, didn't move, but just watched the battlefield quietly. It put a lot of pressure on Enel, and had to devote part of his attention to preventing it from attacking. Carter turned over a few airhas, but his body was already scarred. Its size has become a burden, and at the same time it has to face more airha sieges. It's only been a few breaths. Thanks to its thick fat, the wound is not deep. Otherwise it might have turned into a dead cat. Dark realm. Black smoke instantly enveloped the surroundings. All the light disappeared, and the 5 fingers were not visible. Soon, Enel withdrew to the dark realm again. Because it didn't work for the airhas at all, but instead caused Carter to add a few more serious injuries. Carter is a nimble, fat cat who could have avoided some powerful attacks, choosing to take the less threatening ones. But Enel's dark realm made him lose his senses for a short while. Enel knew that this time he was careless. I only paid attention to the strong among human beings, but ignored these killers in nature. Humans can become extremely powerful through exercise, so why not animals? Although these talented monsters do not have the skills that can greatly increase their attack power like humans, they do not have the excellent skills to dodge at high speed, but they can become the most terrifying hunters just by relying on the intuition and powerful bodies of the beasts. The world is cruel, and those who take it lightly will pay a heavy price. Enel took it lightly. He underestimated the danger of Haui Island, so he fell into this predicament. Although he was able to break out of the siege himself, Carter couldn't. Enel will not give up Carter unless it is absolutely necessary. This is his life and death partner. Even if he is selfish and cruel, he will not betray his morals. This is his bottom line. YC, you go first. I know you can leave, don't worry about me, I may not. Hurry, I'll hold them. Help me take care of the roe deer. Carter stopped running and rushed decisively to the leader of Airha. Enel grabbed its hind legs and flew into the air. Meow. What nonsense are you talking about? If you want to take care of the roe deer, then take care of it yourself. If you dare to die here, I will send it down to accompany you immediately when I go back. Enel yelled. Airha is strictly disciplined and acts tacitly, like a professionally trained army. A few were always on standby in the tree, preventing Enel from escaping through the air. When they saw Enel flying into the sky, they immediately rushed towards him. Enel blocked Airha with his wings, and then threw Carter out of the encirclement. He himself fell weakly because his wings were bitten. Run, run, don't get in the way. Carter, holding back tears and sobbing, ran to the shore without looking back. It knew it would only get in the way by staying here. It ran not the direction it came from, but the other side. It doesn't want to implicate the roe deer, nor does it want the roe deer to see that it is useless. Chapter 168 Overlord of the Black Moon. Wong, the leader of Airha, called out. 5 Airha turned around and chased after Carter. Darkness surged, like a burning flame swaying in the wind, circling and rising, surrounding Enel's body. Dense dragon scales emerged, covering the whole body, and a dragon tail appeared behind him. The body size has also increased, and from the original child, it has become a 3-meter-high dragon man. The wings on the back are stretched out, and the crescent-shaped tail hammer at the end of the tail swings from side to side. The mouth was split close to the ear, and the 2 sharp dragon horns pierced the skin of the forehead and curved back slightly. The pale blue lines spread from the corners of the eyes to the surrounding, extending to the collarbone. Ha! With his breathing, the black mist drifted back from the corners of his mouth. Seeing such a change in him, the Airhas did not attack rashly, and formed a circle to make an attack, staring vigilantly at Enel. Their IQ is not low, and the danger is still known. In this state, Enel was obviously more difficult to mess with than before, hesitating whether he should continue to attack. Wong, Airha leader, urged. Following its order, Orhachun didn't hesitate any longer and rushed over. It was blocked in all directions, in every direction. Enel flapped his wings and rushed into the sky. An Airha, who was on standby on a tree, pounced on him. Dragon Hook Claw. The dragon's claws slid past it, bringing up a large group of blood flowers. Enel's left arm hasn't grown out yet, otherwise he wouldn't be so passive just now. Because if he was carrying Carter, he couldn't fight back effectively, so he was bitten a few times, and he had to send Carter out of the encirclement first. Erha is Erha after all, they can't fly. Although this tall tree was able to attack Enel, who was lifted into the air, it was not flexible, and the attack method was straight. With Carter's fat cat, Enel, of course, it would be inconvenient to move and hide, but now he is alone, and he can easily dodge their swoops. Seeing that Enel was about to fly out of their encirclement, the Erha leader moved. It is bigger, faster and stronger than other Erhas. It jumped up to the tree, claws deep into the trunk, and leapt to another tree, a long way up. Using the tree as a springboard, a few dodged to the same height as Enel. The angle chosen by the leader of Erha is very particular, and the last time happened to be behind Enel. It was well timed, just as Enel slapped a yellow husky. In other words, the Erhas cooperated very well. The dog's paw hit Enel's back, leaving a deep wound. A large cloud of blood spattered. Enel felt a huge force hit, as if being hit by a boulder that rolled down from the top of the mountain. He flew out fiercely, hitting the ground like a meteorite. Boom! Smoke is everywhere. Enel spat out a mouthful of blood. He felt that all his internal organs were displaced. Needless to say, the internal injury suffered this time was very serious, and he also broke several ribs. What's more troublesome is that the place where the leader of Erha pats is the root of his wing, the left wing droops weakly and can't move temporarily. This is the biggest crisis that Enel has shipped since his debut. The last time I met Carp, because I had long thought about the possibility of encountering such a situation, all of them were near misses, not even injured. But this time was different. This time, Enel was too careless. Underestimating the power of the beast, there is no effective countermeasure at all. There was no time to look at his injuries, so he ran forward despite the pain. Just now, the leader of Erha originally wanted to hit Enel into the encirclement, but he turned his wings and changed the trajectory of the fall, so he fell closer to the volcano. Although I know that the further you go to the center, the more dangerous it is, but at this time, you can't care so much. Getting rid of these ferocious Erhas is the first priority. Wong. Erha were not reconciled and hung tightly behind. There was only one thing on Enel's mind at this time, and that was run. Run. Keep running. From the brief confrontation with the Erha leader just now, I know that I am not as strong as it. It's very likely that it can't even win a single Wong, let alone a large group of younger brothers. The trees are thinning out, and the forest is being replaced by the gobi. There are rubble everywhere, and strange-shaped boulders stand. The wind blew through the cracks of the stone, howling like a ghost. Enel's heart palpitated suddenly, and he hurried to the left. A huge brown figure passed from the front where he had been standing. They kept running far away, and some Erhas who couldn't escape were swallowed in one bite. This is a huge python, similar to the Lord of the Sky, but larger, with a brown body that blends perfectly with the surrounding environment. At first Enel thought of it as an ordinary stone. SSSSSSS. The brown python growled. Wong wong wong. Not to be outdone, the leader of Erha barked wildly. The two beasts confronted each other like this. They didn't do it directly, but stared at each other vigilantly. It was obvious that they knew each other, and probably had a fight. In the end, it was probably a no-win situation, so this situation was created. Enel guesses. He has no interest in watching plays now. Continue to stay here and wait for them to compete with sandpipers and clams, and then profit from the fishermen. Take it for granted. That is total death. This Erha's intelligence is obviously not low, and he knows that Enel is not weak. How could he fight against a strong enemy in front of him? Even if there is no threat on the side, it will not fight a terrifying opponent like the python, and there is no reason for the two sides to fight for life and death. Just for a meal, not worth it. Nature is cruel, and the beasts understand that they must look their best at all times. In such a sinister environment, after being seriously injured, you can only wait to die. Erha retreated, but Anil's crisis was not over. He didn't go far when he heard a deafening sound, and the ground seemed to be shaking. Turning around, the giant python was chasing after him. "My day," Enel exclaimed. He was chased by the python to the foot of the volcano. The ash in this area has not completely dissipated, and the sky is shrouded in it, with poor visibility. Rumbling. The sky shook, and the huge figure slowly wriggled. The python suddenly came to a sudden stop and turned to run away. But it was too late, and the huge tentacles stretched out from the gray mist and wrapped around the python's body. Enel took the opportunity to run aside. SSS. The giant python roared, biting its tentacles and making a whirring noise. It is like the Lord of the Sky, and it is highly poisonous. Its attacks were not without effect, and a large piece of the tentacles was corroded. Roar. The huge creature entrenched on the volcano roared. More tentacles stretched out. Anil watched in shock at the scene in front of him, two giant beasts fighting together, like a big monster movie. Chapter 169 Black Moon Giant Demon. No, it's not a fight, it's a hunt. Pythons are terrifying creatures and excellent hunters. But now, the roles have switched. In front of more powerful monsters, it was treated as a delicious lunch. The world is impermanent, the situation changes. In this world, one cannot take it lightly at any moment. The slightest carelessness can pay a heavy price. Boom. The giant python twisted its body frantically, making a loud noise, and the huge body was gusted by gusts of wind. The gust of wind blew away the haze, revealing the true face of the tentacles, masters. It was a huge squid with 4 tentacles wrapped around the python and the other coiled on the volcano. North Sea Giant Monster. The magma in the crater has not cooled yet, and the red lava flows slowly. That squid, it lives in the lava. Enel sucked in a breath of cold air. What a tough skin. What a horrible body. If you give it a human fruit and learn some fighting skills, it is likely to be able to go head-to-head with a kainu. In the world of pirates, it is definitely not just humans that are powerful. The world is big and vast. It's a huge stage, and humans are just one character in it. This vast and boundless sea can hold too much, too much. The ocean is wider than the land. Even such an inconspicuous island can breed such terrifying creatures. Then in the depths of the sea, what kind of terrifying existence should there be? He couldn't help thinking of Uzo, the giant elephant that had been wandering in the New World for thousands of years. With one blow, he settled the trademark of the beast pirates, one of the 3 disasters, Drought Jack. There are also superlarge sea kings on both sides of the windless belt. Although they are very weak in the original work, they can be cut down with any strength. It has even become a powerful benchmark to set off. But is this really the case? There are still too many mysteries left in the original book, too many. These mysterious creatures only showed a corner. Human beings who are gifted can achieve the inhuman strength of a general through their own cultivation. So, what kind of situation can the innate talents among the Sea Kings standing at the top of the food chain reach? They have an intelligence no less than that of a human being, and a physique far exceeding that of a human being. Although their base is not as large as that of human beings, is it true that there has not been a king with outstanding talent for thousands of years? If placed on them in the same proportions, a carp, in a sea king, what would it be like? If you think about it, you will be terrified that this world really dominates, maybe not human beings. Those ancient beasts may be watching these tiny ants fight and kill each other with cold eyes. Today's escaping journey has given Enel a great shock. He was shocked by the power of animals and by the greatness of nature. There are creatures that can bathe in magma. How does this make him calm? Even the towering red soil continent, the monster ocean current rushing into the sky, and the thundering thunder in the sky above Beak are not as big as the impact brought by the creatures on this island. I am weak, really weak. There are many people who are stronger than yourself, and if you zoom into the category of biology, there are even more. Not enough, not enough, not enough. Get stronger, get stronger, get stronger. The long-term smooth sailing made him a little flirtatious. Seemingly cautious, but actually arrogant. During the killing, he forgot the care that he had just set out to see, and lost his reverence for the sea under the constant crushing. He avoided the threat posed by powerful enemies and kept killing the weak, creating a false sense of power. Everything is satisfactory, although there are occasional small twists and turns, but the big strategic goals have been perfectly successful. Let him have the arrogance that he thinks he can control everything. After encountering Garp, he escaped intact. The golden lion flickered, grabbed the thunder fruit, and got the gold. I will not fail. I will not be wrong. Everything was within my expectations. As long as I want to do it, I will succeed. Enel did not know when to have such a mentality. This time it hit him hard. He is not God, he fails, he makes mistakes, he cannot master everything. He is weak, he is not strong. His IQ can even despise a Erha. He can't beat a snake. He can't beat a squid. He was chased by a group of Erha and fled like a dog. Enel corrected his mentality and returned to the cautious state at the beginning. No, it's also different from the beginning. At first, he was cautious because he didn't understand the world. Treat this turbulent sea with the mentality of an ordinary modern person. Doing things timidly, too cautiously. There is no atmosphere, not even conspiracy, no ambition, no ambition. Even if you eat the black dragon fruit, you can only be considered a villain. Originally, he was actually such a coward. But now, he has experienced a lot, and he has changed a lot. His vision, his aura, and his will are quietly growing. When he first saw Doflamingo, he was actually very nervous. The arrogance, and calmness in the face of Brother Ming are all fake. And now, he was able to truly face those big men with equanimity. The first time I fought Moro, I yelled and screamed in pain after getting a little wound. Obviously wanting revenge, but at the moment of the confrontation, he thought of running away. Now he can watch the enemy's sword cut off his arm without changing his face, endure the severe pain and continue to fight. The experience of more than a year is more fulfilling and exciting than the 20 years of his previous life. Enel suddenly understood Luffy and Blackbeard. They are all fanatical dream chasers. Dare to risk your life for that dream called One Piece. Because what they pursue is never to live, but a vigorous journey. A road that will allow them to die without regrets. Even if they die in pursuit of their dreams, they have no regrets. Chasing the treasure of One Piece is actually exploring the world. From upside-down mountains to the voyage to Love Drew, the world's most wonderful and mysterious things will be revealed. Enel affirms desire, indulges desire, he wants to live freely. There are two things he is interested in. One is the confrontation of those heroes. Their will, their courage, their bravery and courage are all what he wants to see. The other is to explore this fantastic world. Travel the world and enjoy these beautiful sights at your own pace. But no matter which one, it needs to be based on its own strength as a premise. Blackbeard and Luffy pursue their dreams so intensely that they are willing to give their lives for it. Enel is different. He just thinks that these things will make him happy, make him feel happy inside and do it. He cherishes life more. His pursuit is not fanatical enough. His heart was still cold. He didn't have that passion and impulse. Testimonials. It will be on the shelves tomorrow, and I know this book is very popular and the grades are very poor. The first time I wrote a book, I didn't know if I could stick to it. In today's online texts, those who are good at the beginning are really complicated, and those who overcome the end cover the widow. Just relying on enthusiasm, will eventually feel tired one day. I wish I could hold on to the end. Your support is a part of the motivation for my writing. This book is biased towards the dark department. If there are any poisonous points, I hope you can bring them up. I try to modify as much as possible. The pen power is limited, and the rhythm is not mastered very well. About adding more, I didn't save the manuscript, so the hand speed is just that. Do your best tomorrow. As for the update speed in the future, it is not easy to say. It's a bit difficult to evolve into a 3-shift beast. I heard that the first order is very important. I hope everyone can support it. Finally, thanks Ruoyi for editing, thank you all. Chapter 170 Roy. At this time, Enel suddenly had infinite expectations for this world. He yearned for a field that human beings had never set foot in, and looked forward to the romantic pictures that existed only in fantasy in the original world to appear in front of his eyes. My heart that had cooled down was rekindled. He seems to have such a dream. To experience this mysterious world. Go and confront those overlords head-on. Utilitarianism, cowardice, reality, the utilitarian heart of modern people has been compressed partly. Enthusiasm, pursuit, and dreams fill that compressed corner. People are always affected by the environment. Living in an environment full of dream chasers, Enel is also subtly infected with the will of this era. However, he is not a child. Not spiritually at least. His outlook on life, world outlook, and values have basically been finalized. Although the pursuit of dreams and romance has been brought about because of the environment, the main tone will not change much. It won't immediately become like Luffy's rampage like a child. His way of doing things still won't change much. Who? The python let out a final cry. Then fell to the ground. The giant squid slowly wriggled its body and began to enjoy the delicious meal. Enel walked towards the coast. He doesn't remember the way. Not to mention a person like Enel who is not very good at recognizing the way, even a person with a strong sense of direction. After experiencing such an escape, how many of them can accurately remember the direction they came from? Enel planned to walk around the coast and return to where he had landed. If Carter was still alive, he should have returned to that place as well. This is the tacit understanding they have cultivated for a long time. If there is no special explanation, then the landing place is the assembly point. When Enel found the pieces of the boat, Carter was nowhere to be seen. As that so haven't it come yet? Or, is he dead? Enel was a little sad. Carter is his only companion who can live and die. Animals are always more sincere than people, and they don't have so much effort. Plus more than a year of getting along, and Carter saved his life when he met Carp. He had a lot of trust in Carter. However, his partner may never return. Enel sat down clutching the wound in his stomach. Once relaxed, he felt exhausted. Pain and tiredness came like a flood that seemed to engulf him. He was seriously injured, and even with his physique, he couldn't stand it. The wound was burning hot, and I was worried about Carter's disappearance. But his hope for this world and his curiosity about the boundless sea haunted him again. Diluted fatigue and anxiety. At this moment, his mind was in chaos, like silk threads that were tangled into a ball. Tired, so tired. Tired body and mind. The sun was still hanging high in the sky for some reason, and he felt that time passed very slowly. It seems that a long time has passed, but the position of the sun has not changed much. He closed his eyes and fell asleep. The sun shines on him, warm. I don't know how long it took. The sun gradually sank and the sky darkened. Not that azure dark, but an iron gray color. As if coated with a layer of iron. Crunch, something stepped on the plank in the distance. A noise woke Enel. Who? He sat up suddenly. On such a dangerous island, Enel would not let his guard down. God knows what creatures will appear. He has been in a light sleep. He has already tasted the consequences of being careless, and he will never do it again. To be chased by a group of erhas in a forest behind the buttocks, this is the shame of a lifetime. It's a roe deer. Seeing Enel's murderous look, the roe deer was so frightened that he hurriedly hid behind the nearest tree. Seeing who was coming, Enel's tense muscles relaxed. It's you, what are you doing? Remembering Carter's last request to himself, Enel continued, if you don't mind, you can follow me. After all, this is the partner's last request, and he feels that he should take care of it as much as he can. He basically assumed Carter was dead. That, Carter is at my house, injured, serious, covered in blood. It said you might come here, so I'll come and see. Dear said weakly. Do you want to come together? So that guy is still alive. Enel was a little relieved. This was the best news he had received today. Following the roe deer to its residence, it was a sturdy tree with a diameter of about 10 meters. The trees around here are all of this magnitude, and they don't seem obtrusive. In the center of the tree, there is a large hole 3 meters in diameter. The roe deer dug out the hole, hollowed out the trunk, and then plugged it with bark. If you didn't look carefully, you wouldn't be able to see it. In a higher position, there is also a small hole with a diameter of 1 meter. This is the entrance and exit of the roe deer before. The 3-meter hole was probably dug for Carter. Although the left wing was injured, it was barely able to go up at such a height. Enel was stunned. Carter was lying comfortably on a large bed made of unknown material. The center of the bed was sunken in a large piece, and apparently, the bed was soft and comfortable. All the wounds on its body have been bandaged. A piece of gauze was also tied on his head, and a trace of blood red was printed from the center of the gauze, like the kind of turban that Japanese samurai wore to represent victory. He holds a skewer of grilled fish in his left hand and a glass of juice in his right. There was also an electric fan next to it, and a small generator rattled. The fan was humming, blowing a cool breeze. Its hair undulates constantly. How uncomfortable. Neil's face darkened. I was exhausted outside. You are actually enjoying it here. Carter was very happy to see Neil coming. Yo Vesey, do you want a grilled fish? Roy's craftsmanship is good. It's much better than yours. Who is Roy? Enel asked in confusion. Roy, it's a roe deer. Roy is her name. When Carter mentioned Roy, he was very excited, and the cat's face was beaming. Her grilled fish is really delicious, and she can bandage wounds. She knows how to avoid danger. She knows a lot. Hearing Carter complimenting it, Roy blushed. And she's pretty. Anal that discuss something with you. Carter squeaked. Let's talk. Enel sat down on the bed. Very soft, similar to the clouds in the sky. Let's take her on board later. I like her. Carter's words were amazing. Roy stood aside uneasily, like a daughter-in-law who wanted to see her in-laws. Neil's face darkened even more. I was exhausted outside. You're actually picking up girls here. Chapter 171 Kill the World Dog. Enel is very tired. Almost became dog food in the forest. When I came back, I was fed another wave of dog food. He hates dogs. He hates Erha. One day, with a knife in hand, it will kill the world a dog. Carter said so. Can he not agree? Carter has always been helping him, but he doesn't seem to have done anything for it except saving it in the forest this time. Anal wouldn't refuse, but he wouldn't admit such a weakling as a partner either. Roy, it is indeed a little bit worse. Roy, can you go out for a while? I have something to say with YC. Carter suddenly turned serious and said seriously. Oh, I see. Roy clacked and walked out. Do half-human reindeer walk with their own sound effects? Before Carter could speak, Enel was the first to say, are you really going to take the roe deer with you? You should know how dangerous our journey is. Will it survive? I know that I will become stronger and protect it. Carter also feels very reliable when he is serious. Well, you should know my style, and I won't admit the weak as my partner. It's fine to bring it on board, but I'm not going to spend a lot of energy protecting it. Anal said something ruthless, but it was better to make it clear at the beginning than to turn his face after encountering something. The villain first, then the gentleman, this has always been his way of doing things. Especially when it comes to dealing with partners he identifies with. I know, I will protect it. Vesey, there is one thing I want to ask you. If one day, I am in danger, will you save me? Although things in the forest already know the answer, but Carter couldn't help but ask, he wanted to hear Enel's answer. Well, as long as there is a sense of certainty, I will not leave you. But if there is no hope, Anal did not continue, Carter is not stupid, and he can understand later. Do you think I'm ruthless? That's it, I've always been selfish. If you think I'm not worthy of your company, you can leave. Find a place to live with the roe deer. My front is very dangerous. Anal stood up and wanted to leave. Why, see, you're just very realistic, so rational that it makes people feel a little ruthless. But, you're not like that, you still care about your partner, right? Carter got up from the bed, pulled Anal, thick the smell of blood came. There is blood behind it. Gauze, dyed red. Dazzling red. It did run at first. After running for a while, it was still worried about Anal. With a knife, he killed the 5 Erhas who were chasing it, and ran back. It is more inclined to sensibility, even if it is dead, it must be with its partners. I was relieved that I didn't see Anal's corpse. Erha may eat bones, but he never eats his clothes, right? And there are also the footprints of Anal's escape. So Carter was relieved and ready to leave. But he was bumped by the Erhas who came back. After 9 deaths, he finally escaped to the beach and jumped into the sea to escape the pursuit. Whatever you want. Anal glanced at Carter's injury. He made up his mind to kill those Erhas. Come to the edge of the house and look out through the tree hole. Did not see Roy. Why, see, we are partners. Always. I won't leave, and I want you to take me to eat all the fish in the world. Carter seemed to swear. Hey, you idiot, Anal smiled. Heart, warm. After some conversations, one person and one cat openly announced and opened up to each other. Roy didn't know when he returned, holding a bunch of green crystals in his arms, the kind that Anal saw dug out of the iron tree last time. It was lingering in the same place, occasionally looking in the direction of Anal with those big watery eyes. Anal signaled to it that they were done. When Roy came back, he saw the blood on Carter's back and said nothing. In fact, it had already told Carter not to lie down, but to lie on his stomach. However, Carter didn't want Anal to worry at first, so he lay down to cover up his injuries. It wasn't until Anal seemed to want to part ways with it that he stood up and held him back. Sword cat, be good, get down. Roy pressed Carter's back. Because Carter's weapon is a katana, Roy affectionately calls Carter, Sword cat. Meow, Carter cried out in pain. Just now, what were we talking about? Roy asked. Some men's talk, Carter returned. Seeing these two people flirting with each other like no one else, Anal said that the experience was extremely poor. Roy finally didn't forget that there was another person here, handed over a plate of crystals and said, Are you hungry? Food. It speaks succinctly, and it lives alone for a long time. Lack of communication objects, support communication skills. Anal picked up a crystal. The texture is soft, like a fresh bud. Looking in the direction where the light came in, it was crystal clear, shining like an emerald. It's hard to imagine that this thing was actually dug out of a tree trunk. Those iron trees seem to be like crabs, with a hard shell on the outside, but the tissue inside has such a soft texture. Anal put it in his mouth and chewed a few times, like beef tendon, very chewy. But don't forget the bite force of Anal right now. His mouth is the place with the highest attack power in his entire body. It can smash steel easily, but chewing on this thing, it took a long time to bite it off. He couldn't help but glance at Roy. Are all creatures on Haui Island such monsters? Even this weak-looking roe deer can bite this thing. Could it be that I made a mistake in my judgment, but it is actually very strong. Roy is indeed very weak, at least from Anal's eyes, very weak. It also looked at Anal in shock at this time. That kind of crystal, it tastes ingeniously. Just like eating beef jerky, you can easily tear it off by biting laterally along the gaps in the fibers. But it is difficult to bite off those fibers. This kind of crystal is piled up in the iron tree, otherwise Roy would not be able to break it at all. It never breaks the fibers. Chewing in his mouth, Anal felt a bitter taste fill his mouth. Like chewing leaves. I really couldn't bear to brush off Roy's kindness, so I could only swallow it forcefully. After eating it, he felt a strange feeling. These crystal blocks seemed to contain life force. He was all too familiar with vitality. But the life force in these crystal blocks is very strange, different from humans and animals. Also different from devil fruits. He couldn't use it at all. This is probably the vitality of plants. It is a pity that Enel cannot use it, so it is worthless. Chapter 172 Bare Justice. Naval Headquarters, Marineford. You bastard, why did you come so late? Do you know what the chaos has been like in the sea for a while? Sengoku patted the table and shouted at Garp. Ha ha ha, sorry for the delay. I just need to go back and catch a few more pirates. Garp scratched his head and said. What have you been doing during this time? Why did it take so long? Logically speaking, even if you didn't use the dedicated route, you should have arrived a month ago. Warring States restrained his anger and looked serious. He knew that his old friend, although he was very confused in small matters, would never be sloppy in big matters. Not being so late for no reason, Garp knew how important he was to the Navy and the chaos at sea right now. Garp had no reason not to know the consequences of a month's lack of a general in the Navy. But even so, he did it. There must be something very serious. Garp also restrained his smile and looked solemn. Do you still remember that kid in Beihai with a bounty of over 100 million? Huh. The danger of that kid is far beyond imagination. There is no need to say much about the combat power. You should have an estimate of his strength to have such a high bounty. He will also use knowledge and domineering, which has a wide range. The person who will use the sensual color is regarded as Enel. The most troublesome thing is that that guy is very cautious and ruthless. I met him, but he still escaped. This reminds me of that bastard, Ski. If I don't get rid of it as soon as possible, I'm afraid it will be another pirate admiral. Garp will be so obsessed with Aenir, half because he saw the tragedy he caused, and the other half because Aenir is really dangerous. Strength, brains, ambition. All have, and that terrifying growth potential. The germ of evil must be stifled as soon as possible. Seeing Garp so serious, Sengoku was also inspiring. I see, I will pay more attention to that guy's information in the future. Wait, you can't go in. Suddenly there was a commotion at the door. What's the matter? Warring States asked. Hold, I am sorry, it's this girl who insisted on seeing Lieutenant General Garp. The guard held a little girl's collar in his hand. The girl stared at the doorman in dissatisfaction and struggled constantly. The left half of her face was smooth and flawless, like a warm and beautiful jade. But on the right half of his face, there was a ferocious burn. During the struggle, she could see her body through the collar, which was also the same uneven skin like old tree bark. Cap, who is he? Could it be your granddaughter? Sengoku joked. Ah, that's right, she's my granddaughter. Her family died at the hands of that kid, hateful pirate. I'll treat her like my granddaughter. Garp held the teacup's hand slightly trembling. Sorry, Sengoku apologized for his joke just now. It's okay, it's the scumbags at sea who are wrong. Just what we have seen, there is so much suffering, in places we can't see, in the corners we can't touch, there should be how many people are suffering. Garp couldn't help but get angry when he saw Dolores. It is precisely because the evil has not ended, the disaster plagued the people, and the pirates are raging in every corner of the world, so we should work harder. This is our responsibility, for justice. Warring States' tone was low and tired, but sonorous and powerful. Ha ha ha, that's true. Warring States, it's up to you. Work harder and get rid of these documents quickly. Garp patted Warring States on the shoulder and pointed to the pile of documents on the table. You bastard, come and help too. Garp poked his nostrils with his little finger and said, what help? I'm not a general, this is the general's job. Warring States was speechless. Dolores, what are you doing here? Come, eat a senbei. Garp took out a senbei with his hand that had just taken out the booger, and handed it to the girl. Dolores slapped the senbei with one palm. I didn't come to eat it. She hugged Garp's calf and cried, that pirate, the pirate who killed my father, hasn't been caught yet. Grandpa Navy. Sorry, he ran away. It was Grandpa who was useless. Garp touched her little head with his big hand. Dolores was suddenly silent, then raised her head to look at Garp and shouted, I want to be a Navy. Huh, what did you say? I want to be a Navy. I want to become stronger and kill all those hateful pirates. I want to personally send the murderer of my father to the execution stand. Dolores roared in a hoarse voice. That is the cry from the deepest part of the heart. It is a hurt, lonely person, the most painful and unwilling roar. It is the resentment from the soul. Why? Why so cruel? Didn't it just steal your cat? Could it be that, in your eyes, human life is so low? Killed my father and ruined my life. My face, my body. A tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye. Blood debt must be repaid by blood. Looking at Dolores with a ferocious expression and a crazy face, Garp flashed a hint of heartache. Warring states also flashed moving. They generally face the kind of big pirates, and every battle can almost be regarded as a small war. Their battlefield, basically, will not see civilians. Most of the understanding of these ordinary people who were hurt by the pirates is still in the report. It is difficult for those in high positions to see the truth at the bottom. But the scene in front of them made them feel more deeply how pirates hurt civilians. I am more aware of the heaviness represented by the cold data in the report. Sengoku felt that the burden on his shoulders was a little heavier. Are you serious? Garp looked at Dolores with a sullen face. Being a Navy is not a joke. The cowardice of the people is not a crime, but the Navy shoulders justice. It is a bulwark that guards order. There is no cowardice here, no retreat here. Can you straighten your spine in front of the vicious pirates? Can you continue to fight on the corpses of your comrades? Can you keep your face in the hellish battlefield? Garp asked sharply. Dolores was startled by his sudden sternness, but quickly calmed down. Yes, I have. I want to become stronger. I want to kill all those pirates. Hell, I've seen it before. Since you have that determination, come with me. Garp got up and walked out, his windbreaker fluttering. The justice behind it is so striking. Dolores stared blankly at the navy coat carrying Justice. Under the light from outside the door, Garp's back is so stalwart. Grandpa, Grandpa, Dolores murmured, the corners of her eyes moist. Let's go for a wave. Chapter 173 Practice. After Enel recovered from his injury, his combat power returned to its peak. He was going to find trouble with the group of Erhas. It's no wonder he can endure such a big loss. If Erha is strong enough, it's really strong to the point where he can't compete. Then he can only break his teeth and swallow it. To challenge an opponent who has absolutely no chance of winning is not called bravery, it is called brainless. However, Erha's strength has not yet reached the point where Enel can retreat. So, they're going to be out of luck. Enel came to the island for the purpose of cultivating domineering armament. Among the three colors of domineering, he values this most, because this is the most practical, and if he encounters a natural ability who does not know this, he will only be blinded. If you want to cultivate domineering, of course, it is best to have sparring. Carter's strength is enough, but there is no sense of crisis in friends. Fighting when you know that the opponent will not kill the killer, the effect is really reduced. But it is too dangerous to go to the C group to fight with those strong men. A person with the same strength is definitely more dangerous than an animal with the same strength. Animals are powerful because of their keen fighting intuition and powerful physique. Compared with the complex and changeable moves of humans, the danger is much less. Even if the situation is bad, running is not so difficult. Human beings have a lot of intrigue and tricks, and maybe there is some big trick hidden. Even if they have the upper hand, they may not let the opponent's blood kill them. Although many times, I can fight back, is an illusion, but what if? Enel's fighting style is closer to that of a beast, and his talent in taijutsu is really terrible. Enel walked towards the middle of the forest. Carter followed, carrying a large knife like a general about to march into battle. Quite a bit of a stance that Llewellyn will never return. Roy waved off from behind. After walking for a while, the two separated and walked in different directions. Carter has Carter's path. Enel has Enel's ideas. They are here to cultivate, not to fight in groups. Practice on your own, and don't bother anyone. If he dies, he can only blame himself for being poor, maybe sad. But there is no consciousness of dying at any time, so let's go home and sleep. Carter was illiterate and could not understand the domineering way of practice, but Enel had already read it to him. Carter's memory is very good, and he memorized all the contents of the 3 sheets of paper twice. Enel first chose to be domineering in armed color. This is also the most detailed and comprehensive one. Armament color domineering is very versatile, can enhance attack, enhance defense, and can also be attached to weapons to enhance the hardness of weapons. It is also possible to catch the entity of the natural ability person. He stared at the document and read it again and again, and after 10 times, put down the paper. He let out a long sigh. He was bewildered. What the hell did you write? Is your understanding too poor? There are 2 reasons for this situation. One is that Enel's talent in physique is really poor. The second is that Doflamingo is a pirate, and he is not a professional teacher. It is really difficult for him to write such a thing. It's good to be able to express the basic meaning, and can you expect him to write clearly and clearly? Doflamingo probably also knew that his writing skills were not good, so he also added illustrations. Although the pictures are in Q version, the characters are still well shaped. However, the most crucial cultivation method is still obscure. There was no time to think about it. He saw the green eyes in the forest flashing away. It's 2 hectares. Hey choppers, this time it's up to me to repay the care you took to me last time. Darkness shrouded Enel's figure, and he blended in with the dim surroundings, making it difficult to see. Erha's single combat power is actually not strong, except for the Erha leader whose strength is faintly higher than that of Enel. The remaining few do not pose any threat. The difficulty is that they are huge in number, and they are rushing in all directions after being surrounded, and it is impossible to deal with them. If you want to overwhelm this group of Erhas, you can either improve your defense so that ordinary Erhas can't break the defense, or you can practice your physical skills and use coquettish moves to dodge. Can't do it any time soon. I guess there is no way to destroy them all, but it's not bad to come and harass them if you have nothing to do. This group of Erhas are ideal opponents. The strength is enough, and there is a sense of crisis. If you don't face it seriously, you will really die. But the degree of danger is also within the acceptable range. As long as it is not too careless, there is no problem in escaping. So, the game begins. Woo! A dog with an orange pattern fell over. There are 5 blood holes in the neck. Their skin is tough and their vitality is tenacious, and it is not easy for Enel to kill him with a single blow. The first one. The second one. The third one. Enel's technology became more and more proficient. From the beginning, it required a lot of strength and could not kill them directly. Later, they could die with a simple claw. He became acquainted with his dragon claws during the slaughter. The claws worked better than he thought. Sharp and sharp, stronger than ordinary steel. When dealing with humans in the past, I did not find the difference between dragon claws and fists at all. Basically, it was not a hit, or it was directly killed with a single blow. He had never fully experienced the effects of the 2 in battle. It is clearly felt now. It is difficult for fists to cause fatal injuries to Erha. Their vitality is very tenacious. Unless they directly deal a devastating blow to the vital point, they cannot be killed at all. The claws, on the other hand, can slit their throats and cause fatal injuries to them. Fists cause internal injuries, claws cause trauma. Claws are also used in different ways. Shooting and capturing are different. Shooting can take into account both internal and external injuries, that is, the wound will be relatively shallow. The claws, on the other hand, can leave deep wounds and can directly cut blood vessels, causing bleeding. To deal with these erhas, it is obviously more efficient to use grasping. After more than a dozen companions died, Erha also discovered something was wrong. Gradually come together. The leader of Erha sniffed the corpse of a companion. The wolf looks around like a king patrolling his territory. It smelled familiar. However, it was a little puzzled, and it couldn't remember where it had asked about this taste. How can you do good deeds without leaving your name? Enel has always considered himself to be upright and upright. So, show your face when you go. Leave a good impression. Maybe people will remember you. Enel gave them a middle finger and walked away. The leader of Erha gritted his teeth, but there was nothing he could do. It really remembers him. Impressive, just not great. Erha was on Enel's must-kill list, and similarly, Enel was on their must-kill list. Carter stood in a tree beside him and watched from a distance. Although it took a different path, it also wanted to trouble Erha. I wanted to go with Enel, but it was a little late, so I just watched. Carter shook his round head as if sighing. Why do dogs make trouble for dogs? They all eat dog food. Chapter 174 6 years. The sun hangs high in the sky, cloudless. On the coast, a young man with shoulder-length hair, light blue lines at the corners of his eyes, and bangs covering his eyebrows faces the sparkling sea. In the distance, the sea and the sky are connected, and there is no distinction between each other, only a faint line. His skin is a little dark, and the sun on Haley Island is too poisonous and tanned. Black Moon Island is such a place, either the sun is burning like fire, or the storm is raging. Enel has been here for almost 6 years. He sat on the beach with a cloth covering his eyes. Behind him is a pink cat with a stick in his hand. Carter raised the stick, and the iron-gray stick turned black, shining with a faint pink light. It uses the armed color domineering. Enel's expression remained unchanged, with a smile on his face, a calm and confident look. Carter quickly swung down the stick. Boom. It hurts. Enel's head was smashed into the sand with a stick. Stupid cat, why are you hitting so hard? Carter grieved, you made me work harder. In the past 5 years, Enel's body skills have been significantly improved. But the 3-color domineering is only half-mastered. He used the method of controlling the domineering and domineering of the Overlord to control Longwei, which was already as pure as fire, and could accurately control the release object. But it's a pity he doesn't have the Overlord color. Armamentous domineering is a kind of energy similar to chakra in Hokage, which can be stored. In the original book, Luffy said that, the armed color is used up, and you have to wait 10 minutes to restore it, indicating that the armed color is usually manufactured and stored. You can run and jump after using it up. Running out of armament doesn't mean running out of physical strength. Enel can already be used, but he can only make it, and he doesn't know how to condense and store it. This is a little embarrassing. So he thought of a clever method, that is to use the dark gravity to attract the armed colors and force them to gather. As for the storage problem, I still don't know how to solve it. He is doing it now. This half-baked method comes at the cost of a huge amount of physical exertion. Enel can also use it. He has more physical strength and recovers quickly. The look is domineering, and his look is a bit strange. Combined with the dragon's perception of life energy, it has a wide range. It can directly perceive the life energy contained in the organisms within the range. Like a radar, large and small green dots shine. Very powerful in detection. But, so angry. He can't predict other people's actions. In combat, the only thing that helps is his ability to hear the attacks behind him. But not in advance, but only when the attack came. This is Enel's illusion. In fact, his vision can also predict actions, but the prediction time is too short. So short that he didn't even notice it. Predicting not predicting is almost the same. Before Enel crossed over, he was an ordinary person, not a special forces soldier, nor a fighting champion. Just an ordinary person who is usually nothing special, without great perseverance or great wisdom. How many ordinary people can't even train 8-pack abs? It won't be like having a buff with all kinds of geniuses, all kinds of physical skills, and become a fighting genius. His fighting consciousness is not as good as that of ordinary people in the pirate world. Even though it has improved in constant battles now, it is still only a mediocre level. Before Enel crossed over, he was an adult, and his style of doing things was basically set. It's hard to change without much stimulation. After crossing over, his living conditions as a child were relatively superior, and there was no special reason for him to exercise frantically. Although I know that the world of pirates is a world where the weak eat the weak, there is no strength here, so there is no security at all. As a transmigrator, he often has a sense of crisis that, there are always people who want to harm me. But he ate the devil fruit when he was very young. The devil fruit brought him power, and the sense of crisis was greatly reduced. A top-level fruit, coupled with a period of development, has the strength of a major general. Don't underestimate the major general. In the 4 Seas, a major general does not go to death, he can get along very well. From the perspective of the world, they also belong to the ranks of the elite. The most important thing for travelers is the imagination. Compared with the average person in the pirate world, their knowledge reserve is much larger. He spends all his training time developing devil fruits. Given that his abilities are from the animal department, he also wanted to learn some swordsmanship and physical skills in the past, but unfortunately there was nowhere. Neither has that talent. He develops fruits, and the same time is obviously more efficient for the growth of strength than for learning physical skills. The urgency of exercising has dropped again. After careful consideration, Enel decided to develop in the direction of the basic properties of the heap. Just like the war between the two countries, the competition is the comprehensive national strength. The strategic layout can indeed have a great impact, but as long as the comprehensive national strength is sufficient, nothing is a problem. If 5 times the strength is not enough, use 10 times, and if 10 times are not enough, use 100 times. Anyway, Enel's ability allows his physical fitness to be strengthened indefinitely. With a body as strong as Kaido, even a pig can easily defeat an average-level lieutenant general. Not enough generals. Then improve the body again. What's so tangled? The body becomes more and more difficult to improve in the later stage. Enel's devouring life force only has an absorption rate of 1%, plus the conversion of low-level life force to high-level life force, and there is consumption in the middle, so the demand for resources in the later stage is very large. Proper physical exercise can also be of great help in improving strength. At least for a period of time, the cost-effectiveness of practicing physical art is higher than collecting life force everywhere. Enel has been in such a period in recent years. So he decisively gave up the idea of running around and came to Heiui Island to practice. The harvest is still in the past. However, no comparison, no harm. Enel glanced at Carter on the side with resentment. This guy is simply a fighting genius, and his strength has improved rapidly. He wasn't sure if he could beat it. Enel has drawn the word, positive, to count the time. It took Carter 2.5 years to perfectly master domineering. To know that Luffy in the original book can master the domineering aptitude in 1.5 years, Rayleigh is very amazed. And that was under the guidance of a good teacher like Rayleigh. Luffy's strength in the original work may be relatively weak, but his aptitude is terrifying, and he is the man who will shake the world in the future. And Carter only saw Doflamingo's obscure way of training, and it took 2.5 years to master domineering. This talent is definitely not low. On the other hand, Enel was a bit horrific. It took 2 years to master the manufacturing skills of armed color, 2 years to learn the knowledge color that can only be used to search for the enemy, and more than 1 year to learn the accurate use of Longway. Sad. Full of tears. Carter looked at Neil's resentful eyes, and had no idea. The backhand was a crit. Why see, you are so stupid, you can't learn such a simple thing. Enel. Can this still be a happy friend? Wangxia Chiwahai. Chapter 175 Leave Black Moon Island. Enel is able to change his body and adapt infinitely to his environment. Frozen, thunder, high temperature, vacuum, slash, blow, impact, gravity. But this kind of change requires a special vitality, the vitality of the devil fruit. Enel calls it the power of the devil. The efficiency of his devouring the power of demons is the same, only 1%. In other words, he ate 100 devil fruits before adding the devil power contained in a complete devil fruit. Absorption efficiency is a big problem, otherwise he would have been invincible after swallowing so many fruits. Enel estimated that it would take about 100 devil fruits to increase the resistance of a certain kind of damage to a level that would ignore the Admiral's attack. To increase all damage resistance to this level, a total of 1,000 appearances are needed. By absorbing 1,000 devil fruits, he can punch the navy and kick the 4 emperors. But this number is a bit disappointing. He still doesn't know if the fruit absorbed by him will appear again. If so, that's fine, and there's still a chance when it grows bigger in the future. I get a dozen or so every year, and it will be almost 40 or 50 years. But if it doesn't reoccur, that's a big problem. If this goes on, there will be fewer and fewer devil fruits, and it will become more and more difficult to obtain. I don't know if the artificial devil fruit is useful. Maybe Caesar should be kidnapped. Double bunker. Enel dare not move. The government may still attach more importance to him than the general. His brain that surpassed human beings for 500 years is a strategic weapon. It's still too far to think. The priority now is to escape. Yes, escape. Black Moon Island is very dangerous, and powerful creatures also have territories. After the arrival of Enel and Carter, the power situation here has changed a little. At first, Enel and Carter practiced separately, one in the east and one in the west. The black dragon form is Enel's strongest state. In order to adapt to this posture, he has basically maintained the posture of a black dragon all these years. Anyway, there is no one here, so I am not afraid to expose the fruit's ability. Black Moon Island's territory is basically divided like this. The black dragon on the cliff in the east, the pink cat in the forest in the west, the lion in the grassland in the north, the crocodile in the lake in the south, and the volcanic squid entrenched in the center. Is the overlord of this island. As for the group of Erhas, they were already wiped out by Carter. Later, Enel and Carter joined together to exercise the domineering and domineering. Their strength has improved a lot, so Enel proposed to slaughter the squid and eat barbecue. Carter has long been drooling at the big squid, and has been suffering from no chance. Enel said so, naturally with both hands. However, the strength of the volcanic squid is beyond their imagination, and even if they join forces, there is absolutely nothing they can do. Instead, it angered the true uncrowned king of Black Moon Island. So this scene appeared. A man, a cat, and a roe deer ran for their lives in front, and a giant squid in the back chased after them with their tentacles. Roy was the one they met while fleeing. The sky was shaking in the back, and its huge size splashed a large amount of dust with every step it took. The terrifying roar was like thunder. All the trees blocking its face were broken, and the steel-like trees were as fragile as pieces of paper in front of it. Ahahahaha, mistakes and mistakes. I didn't expect this guy to be so powerful. Enel laughed. Why see, this is not the time to laugh, it seems very angry. Carter's face ran like a ball rolling. What did you two do? Annoyed Mr. Squid. Roy was full of horror. It's nothing, I just cut one of its tentacles while it was asleep. Roy looked back and saw that one of the tentacles of the squid was missing, the wound was smooth and there was no blood at all. It's nothing. Roy twitched the corners of his eyes. It suddenly stopped. What's the matter with you, Roy? Carter also stopped. Ah, I just wanted to see why it didn't chase. Roy stared blankly at the squid. Enel looked back, the squid's body swelled up, and it was not a good thing at first sight. Idiot, don't stop, run. He felt speechless, are all roe deer so stupid? The squid suddenly spit out a red liquid from its mouth, and everything was burned to the ground. Rock magma. The three of them ran faster. The squid chased them and ran around the island 3 times, feeling hopeless, and then returned angrily. Before leaving, he glared at Neil, as if to say, "You remembered it for me, let's see." "Ha ha ha ha." Roy gasped. "Meow, Roe dear." "Sword cat." "Roe dear." "Sword cat. Are you all right?" "I'm fine." As soon as the crisis passed, the two of them looked at each other affectionately. Lang is in love with his concubine, and his affection is strong. Neil stood aside, the wind blew the leaves, endless, bleak and desolate. Being hated by the big squid, this island is basically impossible to stay. In a short period of time, there is simply no way to compete with it. The purpose of coming here has almost been achieved, and it is time to set sail. "Roe dear, cat, pack up. Ready to leave." "Leave?" Carter tilted his head. "Yeah, it's time for us to go back to the sea. We've been here long enough. If we count the time, it should have already started. I hope there is still a place." He was 14 years old and 1.8 meters tall. The clothes of the past have long been worn out. She is now wearing a leather jacket. This was made by Roy from the skin of the leader of Erha. Carter's size has also grown a lot. 4 meters high and 3 meters wide, double the size of the original. It has no opinion, and has always followed Enel silently. Originally Carter was on Enel's ship, but he just liked human craftsmanship. It wants someone to take it to eat fish. It doesn't matter who is who. Later, after getting along for a long time, he regarded Neil as his relative. The best of the best relatives. Carter is only in his teenage years now. It was Enel, who accompanied him through his childhood. Because of Carter's growth in size, the original boat was no longer suitable. Enel cut down a tree and hollowed out the middle. Throw it into the sea and use it directly as a boat. He suddenly found that his equipment seemed to be worse than Blackbeard. They still have a raft, but I don't even have a raft, only a piece of wood. Feeling a little shabby. Whoever is more aggressive is the boss, and only the boss is qualified to be a boss. Rayleigh didn't even need a boat, he swam directly across the windless belt. Enel so comforted himself. But it still feels so shabby. "Roe dear, are you going?" Carter said to Roy. "Are you leaving?" Tears flashed in Roy's eyes. If I don't go, will you go?" Carter looked at Roy, and then at Enel. After hesitating for a long time, he finally nodded with difficulty. "Wow," Roy burst into tears. "Sword cat, who do you love?" Chapter 176 Unlucky Scorpio. A huge ironwood floated on the sea. Although the texture of this tree was very similar to metal, it was unexpectedly light. The density is only half of that of ordinary wood, and it is not easy to burn. It is a good material for boats. After smashing Carter's chest with a small fist for a while, Roy finally got on the boat. It misses Carter. Soon, Roy, who had never left Hawi Island, was attracted by the scenery on the sea. Looking at the sea on the beach and sailing in the sea are two completely different experiences. The oncoming sea breeze and the flying seabirds made it very curious. The waves hit the boat, and the hull undulated with the waves. Roy walked to the edge of the boat, stretched his hand into the sea, felt the water flow by, and smiled very happily. Carter stood beside it, smiling silly. Boom! A sea beast suddenly emerged from the water. Just as Enel was about to start, Carter kicked him to the ground. "How can I make you do this kind of thing? The roe deer are here, of course I have to express it." Carter stepped on Enel's body and jumped up, and a 6-meter-long broadsword appeared in his hand. This knife came out of Doflamingo's arsenal in the past. It has been used for so many years, and it has not been well maintained. There are already many gaps on the blade. Even so, after attaching the armament color, he can easily cut the sea beast in half. Carter stomped on the head of the sea beast that was split in half, and returned to the boat after a few laps in the air. Carter, holding the blood-stained long knife, squinted at the sea. Under the rising sun, in the sea breeze, the sound of water surging. So handsome. Roy's eyes flashed with little stars. Boom. Enel patted the boat and glared at Carter. Stupid cat, what the hell are you doing? Carter turned away and pointed his cat's butt at Enel, ignoring him. Enel. Huh. Enel and Carter turned their heads at the same time, looking west. Their sense of sight noticed that there were people there, and there were a lot of them. Carter's sight is relatively ordinary, and there is no way to hear voices from a distance. Enel's vision is used to perceive life energy. Among these people, there is a person who is not weak. Judging from the quality of his vitality, he should be regarded as a major general. The combat power judged from this is not accurate. Just like Enel, his life force quality is close to the level of a general, but his combat power is still at the level of a lieutenant general. In the past few years on Haui Island, there is no human vitality for him to swallow, so the growth of physical fitness has basically stopped. As far as his normal physical condition is concerned, he is not much different from 6 years ago. Enel stared in that direction, and a pirate ship with a skull flag was heading towards them. On the sail, a purple scorpion was painted with a pair of white wings. Enel always felt as if he had seen this sign somewhere. Whoever it is, it's coming. How can it be comfortable to command someone else to drive the boat by yourself? He had already decided to requisition the ship, including, of course, the sailors and navigators above. Captain, there is someone there. The lookout with his binoculars widened his eyes shouted. Huh, what's the specific situation? The answer was a beautiful woman with red curly hair and silver armor. Like the victims, they were sitting on a piece of wood. The lookout judged after watching it for a while. Since it's a victim, let's go there. Maybe with treasure, she said. Ha ha ha, the captain is dreaming again. A pirate laughed. Yeah, the captain's luck is always bad. They must have no treasure. I bet a pack of cigarettes. Don't say that, Vika, maybe you won the lottery this time. In the event of a shipwreck, the right thing to do is to get some fresh water and food. Wasting energy carrying treasure will only make you die faster. But there are always some idiots with a fluke mentality, wanting money but not life. Seeing that the pirate ship, which was supposed to be staggered away from him, adjusted its angle, Enel drove straight towards him. He lazily used his ability to speed up, simply sat down and waited quietly to see what the other party was selling. The pirate ship stopped in front of Enel, and a ladder was lowered from above. Hey, are you the victims? Come up, the boss is in a good mood today and intends to save your life. Doran stood on the edge of the boat and shouted at Enel. It was the first time Roy saw a human other than Enel, and he timidly hid behind Carter. Carter straightened his chest, as if I would protect you. Roy grabbed Carter's fur, feeling reassured. Huh, pirates save people. Enel and Carter looked at each other. It seems that I have met a pirate with a dream. Otherwise, the guys who specialize in killing, burning, looting and looting don't have the leisure to do so. But how can you be so enthusiastic? So friendly. Is this still fun to play with? I'm too embarrassed to rob your boat. Enel chose to board the ship anyway. Since he is so friendly, he should be able to discuss it peacefully. He is not a person who kills purely for the sake of killing, and he will not feel happy because of the killing itself. If the other party has good intentions, then he is not an enemy. He is kind to those who are not enemies. Oh Tilda, thank you so much. Enel replied. Carter was already crawling up the ladder. Pop. The ladder is broken. Whoops, Carter fell into the sea. Doran looked at the remaining half of the ladder and cursed. Hey, what a good thing you have done. You bastard. Carter climbed up on the log and muttered, what a broken ladder, the quality is too bad. Enel rolled his eyes, why don't you have a B number in your heart? B number. Carter really didn't. It swells. Doran went back to the cabin, ready to get a spare ladder. Carter took Roy and jumped up. It's hard to beat it at such a height. The pirates on board saw a pink ball fall on their deck. A teenager followed closely. Doran, who was holding the spare ladder, saw Enel and Carter, and said, "What, so you can come up by yourself?" Doran looked at Enel with a little bit of alertness in his eyes, and he was able to come to the pirate ship without changing his face, either with a big nerve or with 2 or 3 brushes. "Hey, I saved you, shouldn't you show it too? Hand over all your valuables. I'll take you to a safe place," Anastasia said. The pirates next to him looked like they were watching a good show. Enel suddenly realized. Treasure is their purpose. But it's also very reasonable, and it's just an equivalent transaction. Neither side loses. In such an endless sea, water and food are the most precious things for those who are shipwrecked. Anastasia's approach is already considered a good deed. Life is obviously more precious than wealth. However, Enel was not the one in trouble. He spread his hands and said, "Do you think I look like I'm carrying treasure?" "Ha ha ha ha," the pirates laughed out loud. Doran scratched his hair, looking helpless. "Is this what you call winning?" "Ha ha ha, the captain's luck is lost." However, one person did not laugh with the crowd. Vika looked at Enel, bowed her head and thought deeply. He always felt that the person opposite him was a little familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had seen it. Glancing at Carter beside him, his expression suddenly became frightened. He recognized Enel. Chapter 177 Inches The Great Daily. No. Anastasia bowed her back, as if she was pressing down on something heavy, looking very disappointed. "Forget it, just do good deeds. I'll send you to an island with some people, and then you can figure out a way yourself." She shook her right hand, disgusting it. Ha 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 ha, seeing her like this, the other pirates laughed even more. "What's the matter, Vika? Something is not right with your face." Doran patted his shoulder. Do along, this guy seems to be the monster from the North Sea." Waika lowered his voice and trembled. "Monster? Who?" "Anal, that kid with a bounty of 150 million, look at that cat." Vika raised his chin towards Carter. "Cat?" In the past 6 years, Enel has changed a lot, and it is difficult to recognize it if it is not an acquaintance, but the cat is still the same cat, but it is fatter and bigger. It is rare to see such a maverick cat. This time Doran also recognized it. He said somewhat uncertainly, "Now that the captain's bounty is 170 million, there is no need to be so afraid of him, right?" Vika rolled his eyes. The captain's bounty was at the level of 6 years ago. "Are you sure he hasn't gotten stronger when he's grown up so much?" Doran was anxious. "What should we do then? Run away?" Vikartadalan's IQ was anxious. How to escape? Everyone came aboard. "You two, what are you mumbling about?" Anastasia turned her head and looked at them with an unhappy expression. Doran pulled Anastasia away, and the three formed a circle for a brief secret meeting. "What, this guy is," Anastasia yelled. Doran and Vika quickly covered her mouth. "Shish Tilda," making a silent action. "What do you think of him, Captain?" Vika asked. "Pretty handsome. I mean strength. Now is not the time to find someone." Vika's face darkened. Doran drew circles in depression. "Captain doesn't want me anymore. Captain doesn't want me anymore." Waika was helpless and couldn't help but make up for it. "It makes her seem like she wants to pass you." Doran takes 10,000 critical hits. "Strength, I can't feel it. I have to fight to know that I have made great progress in the past few years, but he is in the developmental stage of his body, and I am afraid the improvement will be even greater." Anastasia looked solemn. "It seems that he doesn't mean to do anything. Let's pretend we don't know each other, and then quickly find an island and send him off the ship," Waika suggested. The other two nodded. You know me, but why don't I remember? Have we met?" Anal patted Vika's shoulder and asked. Vika and Nastasia were taken aback. Anal was already standing beside them, and the three goods still hadn't been found. He was speechless at the dullness of people in the pirate world. The three waved their hands together. "No, we don't know each other. We don't know each other." We pretended we didn't know you. Doran looked simple and honest. Since you're an acquaintance, it's much easier to handle. Send me to the water capital. Anil put away his smile and entered the topic. He wanted to order several boats, and it was uncomfortable to float around with a piece of wood all the time. There wasn't even a bed, but Anil was still enjoying herself. Carter used to be able to lie on Carter's stomach, but now that Carter has Roy, he won't let Anil hug him to sleep. This really made him sad. Okay. Anastasia returned without any hesitation. They are acquainted to give Anil no reason to attack. Do you have any newspapers from these years? Anil asked. Haley Island is a dangerous place, and even news birds won't go there. He has been on Haley Island for the past 6 years, and has never been in contact with information from the outside world. It feels out of touch with the times, and now I need to take a good look at the situation at sea. If you don't know anything, you'll just ram around like a headless fly. Intelligence is also a weapon. Although Enel's route has always been chaotic, there is a general direction. Basically he does things with a clear purpose. From the first time he went to sea at the age of 7 to the present. First, take revenge, then collect vitality and devil fruit to strengthen yourself, then go to the Sky Island to get gold, and finally go to Black Moon Island to practice. It's all arranged step by step. Perhaps at any one of these stages, Enel is very casual, but from a long-term strategic point of view, it is all in a plan. Newspaper. I don't know either. I usually don't know where to put it after I read it. I'll go look in the room later. They are not specialized intelligence organizations, and after reading the general newspapers, they just throw them away. Ordinary pirates do not deliberately save newspapers. Soon, Doran came over with a few newspapers. It's all here, I only found the last 3 months. Thank you. Enel took the newspaper. Doran was stunned, he didn't expect to thank Enel. He always thought that Enel was the kind of Shira who would kill without blinking an eye. He remembered the scene when Enel directly killed Levi 6 years ago. Enel took the newspaper and glanced at the name of the newspaper. The Great Daily. The name left Enel speechless. This newspaper is not the mainstream newspaper of 6 years ago. He was keenly aware that the dark world must have undergone a lot of changes. Especially in terms of intelligence, this is not a trivial matter. Enel looked back from the earliest newspapers, basically trivial matters that did not attract him any interest. Until he turned to the most recent one. Make his pupils shrink. The front page is really a big deal. It has a considerable impact on the situation of the whole world. Hexia is very peaceful and joins the king's 7 Wuhai. Became the 3rd Shichibukai after the pirate queen, Boya Hancock, and the world's largest swordsman, Jorakal Mahak. This is a symbol of racial peace, as well as an improved relationship between the world government and Mermaid Island. The Sun Pirates split, which is not worth mentioning to Enel. Anyway, in his opinion, the only thing that needs attention is Shiping. Aaron and Marco are minor characters that don't need attention. He couldn't remember who Marco was at all, but Aaron still had some images. This is the last boss before Luffy leaves the novice village, and the role is still quite sufficient. I always feel that Aaron is the strongest enemy that Luffy has defeated. Later, there were all kinds of cheating, Crocodile, Anilu, Mariah, Shiki, they all lost a good deal. But this is the real world. If there is no interference from yourself, then the world will probably continue to run according to the original trajectory. Luffy, is it really that easy? One time may be good luck, but if you come several times, it is not a matter of luck. Enel pondered. Chapter 178 City of Water. The capital of water, this beautiful city, famous for its unique scenery and shipbuilding skills, gleams in the sun. Water is everywhere. Water, water, water. This city was built on foundations immersed in the sea. A huge fountain stands in the very center of the city. The sea water is continuously pumped up with a unique power system. Then flow down the waterway. In the city, there are such waterways everywhere, and people usually travel through these waterways and take a vehicle called Blue. The whole city has been completely planned, like an industrial city. Beautiful, clean and prosperous. From a distance, it looks like a huge cake. Goodbye then, you can come to me if you can't get along in the future. Ano waved goodbye to Anastasia. Goodbye, Anastasia said dryly, actually thinking that it would be best to never see each other again. Ano sat on his tree trunk and drifted toward the water capital. Ah! The whistle sounded, and a train whizzed past. This is the sea train, the invention of Tom the Murloc artisan. It can make sounds that are annoying to sea kings, and it is not afraid of ordinary storms and waves, so it is very safe. It can be said that this is a cross-generational invention. In the great voyages, islands vary greatly from island to island, because of the difficulty of navigation and the lack of communication with each other. The sea train can solve this problem to a large extent. It is very convenient to transport troops and supplies. If it can be built on a large scale, it will greatly promote the development of the economy. After entering the city, Ano asked Carter to put away the trunk, and he and Roy sat on its back. The waterways are full of blue, people come and go, very lively. There are various shops on both sides with a dazzling array of goods. You can see the underwater pillars, the foundations that were submerged by the sea in the past. Carter, stop. Ano stopped it. He saw the words, Bull Rental Shop, hanging on the door of a nearby shop. Although Carter can also swim, he hates seawater, and generally he won't go into the water if he can, so Ano plans to rent a blue. Pushed the door and walked in. Welcome. The shop owner was reading the newspaper with a magnifying glass. Are you going to rent a bull? How many of you are there? Ano pointed to Carter behind him and said, I'm the only one, but this guy has to be counted. The boss looked at Carter and said, this is your pet. An ordinary herring with such a big size can't be carried, and it needs a simulacrum. Bull is divided into 3 grades, herring, eel, and emperor. Among them, the herring is the smallest, similar to an ordinary carriage on land, and the emperor is the largest, which can drag boats the size of small sailboats. With Carter's size, ordinary herring is obviously not enough. He. In the pond, there are many herrings, and there are 2 larger ones, which should be pseudo-eels. Ano picked one at random. You rent a simian eel, 10,000 baileys. The boss said that a huge wooden boat with a length of 8 meters was towed out and put into the water. Hey, do you know where there is a shipyard? Ano asked. The shipyard. There are many here. I suggest you go to the Carrera shipyard. It is small but the craftsmen are good. The boats are very strong. Oh thanks. By the way, because you are renting pseudo-eels, some waterways are difficult to pass through. Pay attention to this. Blues are smart enough to accurately remember waterways and important locations throughout the water capital. Soon, Ano came to the Carrera shipyard. It is a small shipyard with very few personnel. Looking a little tattered, Ano wondered if he had come to the wrong place. Is that boss a pimp? It doesn't seem like it. Ano walked over. Hello, who are you in charge here? A man who was beating the hull with a hammer stopped, turned to face Ano, and said, Hello, I'm Iceberg, the head of the Carrera shipyard, welcome, what do you need? It was a blue-haired man in an orange-striped coat with gauze tied around one of his fingers, probably from shipbuilding injuries. Iceberg, one of Tom's 2 disciples, participated in the construction of the sea train with first-class craftsmanship. Now he has not become the mayor of the water capital, and even the Carrera company is just a small shipyard, without the monopoly position in the original book. I want to build a few boats, not too big, but I need them to be able to move freely on them. Ano pointed to Carter. So, Bingshan lowered his head and thought for a while. After thinking for a while, he said, if you are a small boat, the materials you can carry can't support ocean voyages. And it's even more difficult to build it according to its physique. Don't worry about supplies, space for water and food can be freed up. We don't need that feature. Ano asked Carter to take out all the trunks of the iron tree. When he left, he prepared a lot in case of emergency. The iron tree is huge. Even if there are only 5 trees, it can build 3 or 4 small boats. Looking at the tree trunk that Carter took out, Iceberg's face showed a little surprise. This is Carl's flax tree. Huh, you know this thing? Enel asked. Well, yes. Carl's flax tree is light in quality, strong and durable, because there are green crystals in the trunk, and very little wood can be used. Coupled with its scarcity, the price is very expensive, second only to the treasure tree atom. Wood, Ice explained. Oh, Tilda said that's what it is. Enel nodded. You don't know this thing? Iceberg was very puzzled. Yeah, I don't know, I just thought it was good, so I cut down a few trees. Enel replied calmly. Can you tell me where you got it? Is that so? I don't really care about that, but are you sure about doing such a deal? It's a dangerous place. I know it will be very dangerous. The crystals of the Carl flax tree contain a lot of energy, which can make the animals that feed on it become extremely powerful. Where they grow, there are often many beasts. But from what you look like, there seems to be a lots of Carl's flax trees. For a boatman to want to know even just to satisfy his own curiosity. Oh Tilda, yeah, I'll tell you then. On Haley Island, there is a forest like this. Enel said directly without trying to hide it. Bingshan's face darkened. He knew it would be very dangerous, but he didn't expect it to be so dangerous. He had also heard of the fierce name of Haley Island. It's almost a Jedi there. Chapter 179 Planning. The iceberg is far less harmless than he appears to be. The iceberg in the original book can be the mayor of the City of Water, making a large number of warships for the Navy every year, so that CP9 does not dare to do anything to him. As the 2 major armed institutions under the world government, the Navy and the CP organization have never dealt with them. There are also many people in the Navy who hate their shady style. More directly, the issue of military spending. Whether it is the Navy or the CP agency, all activities require military expenses. Of course, the leaders of the 2 sides have had a lot of quarrels about this, and both sides firmly believe that they are justice. Iceberg provides the Navy with high-quality and inexpensive warships, which saves a lot of expenses for the Navy. Of course, the Navy must protect him. Will not let the CP agency shoot him casually. This year, the Navy has not been easy. The sea is so big and there are so many pirates. In the New World, there are super-large pirate groups similar to warlords like the Four Emperors group. The world government is always suspicious, distrusting the Navy, and fearing that they will be too powerful and out of control. Although military spending has risen every year, it is not enough. In addition, there are willful second-hand goods like carp in the Navy, and several warships are sunk at every turn. They are the Navy, not pirates, and not the world government. You can't blatantly collect money, and you have no right to tax. Then you have to rely on invisible benefits like icebergs to reduce expenses. What? Do you want to move the iceberg? That gives money. Hand over your military expenses, or you won't have to talk about it. I want to pry our corner for your credit, I'm too bold. In a word, dream. The Navy won't say it so directly, and of course it won't let go of military spending. So it was so stalemate, as long as the iceberg did not reveal any flaws, and there was no direct evidence that he had the blueprint of Hades, then CP9 could not shoot him. Although it feels a bit like paying protection fees. But it is indeed a clever use of the Navy, and this brain alone is worthy of praise. Nor is he solely reliant on the Navy in government. As mayor of the water capital, he has boosted GDP here by dozens of %. The rapid development of the capital of water has received strong support from the general public. In this world where one person can play tens of thousands, although public opinion is not so important, taxation is indeed real. Looking at the large amount of taxes, some things will turn a blind eye and close an eye. This makes CP9 feel that he is a hedgehog and has nowhere to go. Spandam gritted his teeth in hatred, and there was nothing he could do. And Iceberg is also the president of Carrera, which integrates the shipyard of the entire water capital. One thing to note is that his company does not reject orders from pirates. Judging from the ease with which his employees face the Straw Hat Pirates, they often receive this kind of business. Even, he built more ships for pirates than for the Navy. In layman's terms, he is a big guy who takes all black and white. Bingberg asked Anelkar where the flax tree came from, certainly not out of curiosity. He knew that as long as the blueprint of Pluto was in his hands, the ghosts of CP9 would come to them sooner or later. He had to put a protective cover on himself before they got there. He has plans for his future. Running for mayor has also been considered. However, he is short of money. Very short. The owned shipyard needs to be expanded, which costs money. Running for mayor requires bridging, and it costs money. He is pressing. CP9 is the lingering shadow over his head. Now that Anil put such a path that could bring a lot of economic benefits in front of him, how could he not be distracted? What is human life? As long as there is enough interest, there are many people willing to risk it. Even if Anil is so cautious, if there is an interest that he cannot give up, as long as there is no chance, he will risk his life to fight. From the fact that Bingshan made deals with the pirates without any scruples in the original book, he knew that he would never take human life too seriously. But Anil's answer disappointed him a little. Black Moon Island, it is too dangerous there, and the input and the harvest are likely to be disproportionate. You seem to be very interested in there. Anil smiled in a low voice. How about we talk about some things in detail? Anil has long wanted to form his own power. Relying on Doflamingo's intelligence network all the time was clearly not a conscious choice. I don't know when it got hacked. He used to have insufficient strength and no funds, so he was busy improving his strength and did not spend too much effort in this regard. But now that he has a certain amount of capital, of course he will use his brains in this regard. Bingshan is a good talent. Anil will not touch the blueprint of Pluto, it is something Bingshan desperately guards. If Anil had the idea of a blueprint, then he would be no different from CP9 to Iceberg. He doesn't think he has any tyrannical spirit, and he can make others worship him with a shock of his tiger body, and then give his allegiance desperately. Then he donated all the good things and said, "Captain, this thing is not safe for me to put here, I can't protect it. I hand it over to you, and I must not let the government people get it." With this kind of operation, I am afraid that the halo of brain damage has been opened. Speaking of domineering aura, Anil does not seem to have a domineering look. Besides, Anil was only a little curious about the Pluto, and didn't have much desire. He is only interested in the cool effects of weapons, which is good for pretending. What are the weapons in real combat? Need that kind of thing. His claws, his fangs, and his body are the most effective weapons. Your own strength cannot be taken away by others. Weapons can only have a deterrent effect on those big forces. If the other party doesn't care about the fragmentation of the territory, then a battleship like Pluto is completely useless. Unless this battleship can be domineering with armament, it will be useless to those who are strong in nature. What Anil needs is an intelligence organization of his own, and he needs intelligence, especially the intelligence of devil fruits. Doflamingo does business, not to make money. What he really wants is to control the sales channels of the entire underground world. To build relationships with others, build cooperation. The devil fruits that pass through his hands will not all flow to Anil. A lot of it will be used by him to increase his influence. Therefore, Anil needs an organization of his own to collect devil fruits. He is not an ambitious man, he has no ambition to rule the world. But if he wants to become stronger, all power and money are just vassals of power. All dreams and dreams require strength to realize. Lapse in time. Sorry, there was a small error in timing. Tom should have died 10 years ago. 11 years ago, the drawings of Pluto had not yet reached the hands of Iceberg. I postponed the time when the protagonist left Black Moon Island by 1 year, and set it to 10 years ago. So the protagonist should have stayed on Black Moon Island for more than 6 years, not more than 5 years. The previous chapters have been slightly revised. Chapter 180 Iceberg. In a restaurant, Enel sat opposite the iceberg. This hotel is located in the center of the water capital, high-end luxury. The single room was filled with a faint fragrance. The tabletop is clean and spotless, and the table and chairs are made of heavy brown wood. As a craftsman, Iceberg professionally judges its properties. Soft and heavy, it is not a good wood for boat building. There was a layer of soft sea animal hide on the chair. The chandelier on the ceiling emits a soft glow. Enel carried forward the national style imprinted in his soul. Talk about something at the dinner table. He ordered a lot of roast meat and is now digging in. Iceberg didn't know what Enel wanted to do. After waiting for a while, he couldn't help but ask, "What exactly do you want to say?" He agreed to talk to him after seeing that Enel had the ability to take out the car flax tree from Black Moon Island, but he didn't expect the other party to keep eating. There was no sign of wanting to talk about anything. "Ah, I'm sorry, I was too involved and forgot about the business. Where did we just talk about?" Enel frowned and thought hard. Iceberg said lightly, "We haven't said anything yet." "Tisk, it's so troublesome. Long story short, be my son or subordinate." Almost imitating Whitebeard, Enel changed his words in time. Iceberg did not directly refuse, he is a rational person. This is the difference between him and Frankie, and it is precisely because of this that Tom entrusts the drawing of Pluto to Iceberg, not to Frankie. If it was Frankie, I'm afraid he would have gotten up and left. The Iceberg asked, "Why? Why should I be your subordinate? What can you give me? And why did you accept me as a subordinate? It seems that we are meeting for the first time. What can I give you?" All I can give you is money, a lot of money. Of course, I can also help you get rid of any troublesome business competitors. What I need is a piece of information. Internet, including both the government and the black market. Quote. Iceberg thought about it. What he lacked now was funds. "How much can you give me?" Enel raised a palm. 500 million Bailey. I can give you 500 million Bailey temporarily. As long as you agree, I will give you 500 million immediately. The follow-up funds can only be given to you after you have made some achievements. After all, I only saw you for the first time, so I can't give you too much trust. 500 million is far from enough to develop an intelligence network. But for the ICE at this time, it is also a lot of money. He was moved. Moreover, a person who can give 500 million at will, then his strength or the power he represents is definitely not weak. He also thought that the other party might be sent by CP9. How could the department come to say that he would give him 500 million from the beginning? It would be nice not to grab him directly. Security issues. If I do this kind of dangerous thing, then my safety issues need to be guaranteed as well. Of course, Bingshan would not directly say that he might be targeted by CP9. For another reason, he wanted to see if Enel could send someone to protect him. You have to solve this yourself. If you can't even solve your own security problems, I don't believe you can do it well. Enel didn't tell him that he couldn't send anyone at all. Beckoning is not looking for a partner, so you don't need to be completely candid. Besides, the other party is also hiding it, right? Finally there is a question. Why did you choose me? We only met for the first time, right? Bingshan was the most puzzled about this. It looks good from you, intuition. Anyway, it's only 500 million Baileys, and even if you screw up, you won't lose too much. And your craftsmanship is good, just for your shipbuilding skills, it's more than 500 million. Iceberg took a deep breath and said, "Then please take care of me, boss." "Well, I believe you won't let me down." Boom blah blah blah. Iceberg's phone worm suddenly rang. Sorry. He picked up the small phone bug. "No, Mr. Iceberg, there is a group of pirates making trouble in the shipyard, we are not opponents." The tone on the other side was very urgent. From the phone, you can also hear the sound of weapons colliding. And faint screams came. What a bastard who can't open his eyes. Enel looked gloomy. The materials he used to build the boat were still in the dock, and Carter had no more Carl flax trunks in his backpack. A pair of jet-black wings emerged from Enel's back, shrouded in darkness above. He has a habit of hiding his abilities. Looking at the iceberg, only a pair of wings surging like black smoke can be seen, as if they are completely composed of elements. Enel flew out of the window directly. The bells pinged, the glass shattered and fell down. Passers-by screamed and fled. Anyone who is capable, Bingshan muttered to himself. Then, he saw Enel fly back again. He grabbed him and flew into the sky again. Where's the dock? I forgot the direction. Enel didn't actually forget, but didn't remember it at all. Dock. A group of pirates are fighting with the craftsmen. The number of both sides is similar, and this group of pirates is not a powerful guy, they are all a little bit stronger than ordinary people. Over time, the pirates gradually gain the upper hand. Their weapons are dominant, at least they all carry swords. On the other hand, the boatmen had small hammers for hammering nails, and some with a wooden stick. There is also a dear friend who directly picked up a brick. They are also bloody, no matter how bad the weapons are, they are not cowardly. The brick boy smashed 3 pirates with brick's crit point, and was finally slashed in the back with a knife. Carter squatted aside to watch the play, and Roy sat on a small bench with a packet of popcorn in his hand. Enel and Iceberg didn't bring them both when they went to discuss things. Wow, is this a battle between humans? Roy looked at it with great interest. Well, ordinary humans fight like this. Carter acted as an interpreter. Why did they feel so weak? They are far worse than Enel. Roy put a handful of popcorn into his mouth. Of course it can't compare to YC. YC is also very powerful among humans. These guys are just scumbags. Carter's face was full of disdain. I really don't know how such a weak pirate is on the great route. Mixed. Punch, punch, hurry up, right, hit his head with a hammer, Roy danced excitedly. At first, it found that when the boatmen and the pirates were fighting, it was going to help, but seeing that Roy was interested, so he didn't take action.